What's up, cock mittens?
I was going to ask what a cock mitten is, but I don't want to know.
It's pretty self-explanatory, I believe.
don't want to know.
A woven condom?
Designed expressly for the purposes of keeping your cock warm.
I'm surprised no one said anything about you starting the podcast last week by saying, fuck Jesus.
I think people have come to accept this and expect this behavior from me.
I guess. I was thinking one person would be like, that was kind of disrespectful. But nobody gave a shit. I think we finally weeded out the last of the normies.
The last of the normies? Very possibly. Although, there's a chance that at some point in time down the road, we may attract a normie with one of our future podcasts, and then they'll be like, oh, I should listen to some old episodes. And then, hit play, and it's just, I'm like, fuck you, Jesus. we might get some after-the-fact complaints.
Oh. If in the middle of all this I, for some reason, start cringing in pain, that's because I went to the doctor's office and the Novocaine wore off.
Did they remove your larynx?
No, I'm pretty sure they didn't.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that you went to go visit the doctor in order for him to apply Novocaine to something, as opposed to being like, hey, doctor, I've got Novocaine everywhere.
Not exactly.
How's your health? Is your health? Are you in adequate shape to do this podcast here, Robert?
Oh, yeah, it's nothing like that. It's just I had to have some work done on the foot.
Uh-oh.
I'll spare you the details. I don't think you want to hear it.
I don't know. I kind of do. It's sort of a podcast tradition. I'm not sure if you ever listened to the early episodes, but I got to speak.
I listened to about half of them, I'd say.
I got to speak at great length about troubles I was having with my prostate. It was a magical time.
I'm afraid it probably wouldn't be quite that good. But
Did you step on something sharp?
No, more like my toenail got ripped off about 2 months ago, and then a new one was growing, and it wasn't growing right. So had to get got ripped off too, and now it's killed the root, so it's never going to grow back.
I bet that hurts.
Well, the Novocaine hasn't worn off yet, but it will.
Yeah. That's gonna hurt. I'm sorry to hear that. So you've got 7 toenails?
9.
Okay, all right. It's just 1 or 2 of them are slightly augmented?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Augmented toenails.
Yes. That could be the title of the podcast right there. Augmented toenail.
Well, we'll see where we go from here.
I want to see that Deus Ex.
Quick, use your nexus points. I didn't ask for this.
Oh, Jesus.
No, you very specifically asked for this, Adam. Your toenails were ingrown, and you said, ooh, can we do something about these toenails? And I said, we could augment them. And you said, I think I'm going to ask for that.
Shit, you're right.
I'd had a lot to drink that day.
Did you guys hear that the Deus Ex The Fall, the iOS game they're making, was originally going to have a female protagonist, but they decided just to reuse a bunch of assets from from Human Revolution, so they just took a generic male character model for the main character.
Because they didn't have any generic female character models.
I don't know. Apparently it was just too much work.
You know what? Sometimes I feel the same way about women.
I see what you did there.
I don't really. I mean, that's,
I'm embarrassed for all of us.
I dig my grave. Did you bring a shovel?
No, I brought a pick.
Can you dig it? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another stirring episode of Family Friendly Movie Review, where we, the hosts of Family Friendly Movie Review, this week myself, Johnny Maloney, Austin Yorsky, and Robert Heck, are going to be having a look at some independent art film, and not only trying to discuss the movie in as family-friendly a way as possible, but to attempt to convey any deep meanings and importance that these movies, which may not necessarily be family-friendly, to you in a way that even your smallest children can listen to with joy. So this week, we are going to be discussing and dissecting Lars von Trier's Antichrist, in as family-friendly a way as possible. So, we'll begin with a short synopsis of the plot of Antichrist. Austin, if you'd be so kind as to start us off.
Why do you do this to me, Johnny? I've actually seen Antichrist. That's the one where Willem Dafoe gets hit in the junk with a log, right?
Hey! This is a family-friendly review show. We don't discuss violence.
Oh, I would say junk isn't a bad word. I can say junk.
No violence, Austin.
How do you explain the concept of...
It's where Willem Dafoe's character has an up-close and personal experience with nature at a high velocity involving his...
reproductive equipment.
His between-the-legs region.
The peen zone. Oh, no.
Please continue.
That's all I remember from it.
I feel that it's more a movie about a man and a woman who love each other very much, but might be a bit confused.
Oh, wait, I remember something. The baby falls out the window, or I guess has an unexpected meeting with the pavement, if you will.
There's a gravitational problem that the baby has involving a distance of exceptional height proportionate to its, let's say, let's say resistance to impact.
I would have used the word fragility. I like the word fragility.
Oh, we could use that as well. So this movie about this baby that has a fragility impairment involving, of course, high velocity on a purely y-axis basis.
I'm not sure. I put some X in there, too.
There might be a little bit of X, but I consider it to be statistically negligible.
Fair enough.
The distance from the windowsill to the open air, I guess.
Yeah. There might have been a little bit of drift as well. I mean, because babies, let's be honest, not the most aerodynamically shaped things.
It's been a couple episodes since we touched on infanticide, but we're right back there.
Well, I didn't. This isn't my movie. I didn't write it.
Okay.
So
you brought it up. There's so many things. I thought when I heard this, when you're like, oh, we're gonna talk about violent movies in a family friendly way, I thought you were gonna say Django Unchained, and I was like, oh shit, we cannot do this.
No swearing on the family friendly movie review.
How could you?
That's awful. There could have been children listening.
Well, if they're listening to this, they're already beyond help, so they clicked on it with whatever crazy-ass title we're going to use, so...
I suppose.
They're obviously already pretty damaged.
But still, I feel that if you're interested in watching a movie about a baby that has structural problems when moving at very high speeds towards the ground, and similarly about a husband and wife who feel very confused, don't watch the movie.
It's okay. I hadn't seen it anyway.
Jeez.
Don't do it.
Okay. Now to Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction is a movie about two best friends having breakfast when a small kerfuffle breaks out in the restaurant, resulting in an existential epiphany, which is told through a cut and paste style of storytelling that has a myriad of interesting characters who
I love this. You're just reaching so far.
Who all intertwine with one another in ways that skirt legality.
Skirt legality?
Skirt legality.
I think you're giving him too much wiggle room, Robert. We need to be like, Johnny, can you do this with a Serbian film?
A Serbian film is a movie about movie making and relationships between family members.
We're giving him too much to work with. It needs to be something simple. How about like Friday the 13th Part 2?
Friday the 13th Part 2 is a story about a sad hockey goalie.
Nope, he didn't get the mask until Part 4. Boom! Win! Austin wins. Fatality. Moving on.
He didn't get his mask till part 4?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that's right.
It's been years since I watched the Friday the 13th movies.
I'm sure someone listening will Google it. I was about to, but I don't care anymore. Do you guys want to talk about video games?
I will tell you one thing about Friday the 13th and video games. Press X to Jason.
Damn it.
David Cage.
You know, that actually segues pretty relatively well into one of our first news stories here.
And even if it didn't, we never pass up an opportunity to talk about David Cage.
No,
so.
we never do. So in case you haven't been listening to me, a sidebar, why aren't you listening to me? You should be. Listen to me right now. I'm talking to you. All right? You. Yes, you. You in the shirt. Or you without the pants. So if you haven't been paying attention, David Cage's new game, Beyond Two Souls, The Last of Us. No, I'm kidding. It's Beyond Two Souls. Beyond Two Souls is starring, among others, Willem Dafoe, who incidentally starred in Antichrist, and Ellen Page. Now, a lot of people have been noticing, what with the release of David Cage's last game, The Last of Us. No, I'm joking.
Someone's gonna be really confused
Yeah.
because he actually made The Last of Us.
No, he didn't. Naughty Dog made it, and we still have respect for Naughty Dog here. So I'll stop doing this. I'll stop equating the two of them. So, anyways, Naughty Dog's last game, The Last of Us. A lot of people noticed a certain similarity between Ellie's character and the actor Ellen Page. There were even rumors circulating around. Probably not earlier this year. I think they were sort of like late last year, mid last year. That Ellen Page had been tapped to play Ellie in The Last of Us, and they were using her likeness as a result. Now, since then, apparently, Naughty Dog has said that they haven't changed the character design, so...
No, they did, but they didn't change it as a result of Ellen Page being in Beyond Two Souls.
Oh, right.
You can find the art of what she used to look like compared to what she looks like now, and she looks less Ellen Page. But that was, supposedly just because that was just the natural evolution of the design for the character.
So in any case, Ellen Page was doing one of the Ask Me Anythings, the Amas, on Reddit there. I don't know if you've been to the Reddit, but if you do, wear dark glasses, because some of the things you see may blind you. But she was doing an AMA, and somebody asked her the question, hey, have you noticed that there is a girl in this video game that's all like, ooh, she looks like Ellen Page. And Ellen Page said, I guess I should be flattered that they ripped off my likeness, but I'm actually acting in a video game called Beyond Two Souls, so it was not appreciated. So now this is interesting. I mean, I'm kind of curious about this. Ripping off likenesses, is that a thing?
Yeah, I made a joke in the article when I wrote this up. I said that we'll let you know if someone files a lawsuit. And someone's like, you can't be sued for that. But actually, likeness rights is the thing. You own the right to your likeness pretty much. I mean, in a sense. Like, someone can make a movie about you as long as they don't defame your character. And you as, will be a person in there and they won't have to pay you. But if they use your likeness as something else, then they probably would have to pay you.
Oh, yeah.
And
you still do. Yeah, you need to basically sign. You need to sign away. Like, I have been filmed for documentary purposes,
mm-hmm.
and they will make you sign something to be like, I am okay with being publicly exhibited in this movie. It's why, basically, whenever you're watching television or something like that, and somebody who's obviously not a background walker goes by and their faces are blurred out, it's because you can't just broadcast a person's image publicly without having their express permission.
Yeah, and especially if you're an actress, like your likeness is like your
money
livelihood.
Maker.
Yeah.
Unless you're one of those actresses, in which case your moneymaker may be a little bit more below your face.
Johnny.
Wonderful.
I didn't expect any better from you, Johnny. That's why we love you.
Nobody does, so I'm just becoming okay with it.
But yeah, I mean, some people, I think someone said they respected her less for getting kind of uppity about it, but it's like, I can't get in the mindset of an actor because I'm not one, but I can I guess empathize with that.
I think I get what you're saying. Although the wording of what she said kind of confuses me because she says, "But I'm actually acting in a video game called Beyond Two Souls, too much Dark Souls." So it was not appreciated. I don't really see how acting in Beyond Two Souls makes a difference how she feels about being portrayed in another game.
Well, because if you're doing a thing, you want people to care about your thing and not other things. So if people think you're in another thing, that could detract from the attention that your actual thing is getting.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. And it is pretty undeniable that Ellie and Ellen do look pretty similar. I mean, I just pulled up a picture because I didn't actually know exactly what Ellen Page looked like, and I can totally see Ellie in there.
So, I mean, Ellen Page doesn't have the most distinct look. She is a white person who looks, I don't know, just like a normal white person looks.
I've seen that girl before.
But I don't actually think Ellen Page is going to sue anybody. A, because it's not really in her interest, and B, because I don't think you could convince a judge that Ellie is infringingly similar.
No,
just
I don't even think she got particularly uppity about it.
No, I know, but I'm seeing a little bit of sentiment that from here and other places that maybe she should not have said what she said. I don't know. People get uppity about everything, so people are very easily frustrated. Whatever. I mean, I would be flattered if I was in the game, but if I was an actor and someone put me in the game without my permission, that's a different thing entirely. So I can see why she's upset. But here's my take on this whole thing: is I can't wait until Beyond Two Souls comes out, and it's so much worse than The Last of Us. Because I mean, you missed the boat, Paige. You should probably fire your agent. You bet on the wrong horse there.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess there's a certain thing to be said for the legitimacy of video games from the viewpoint of people who don't actually play video games. There was a bit of noise recently over David Hayter being replaced as Solid Snake, or, I guess in this case, Snake, by Kiefer Sutherland. And Sutherland admittedly is I don't really play video games. So it's kind of okay, so you don't play video games. I guess that's okay, but sort of do you really, do you know what you have in your hands? Do you know what shoes you're filling? Do you know what this means to, millions of people?
Yeah, you kind of get the sense that he thought he was just signing up for a voice acting gig, and it wasn't a super big deal. It was just being one of those Marios, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there was another example that I was thinking of. When they made the Ghostbusters game, right? When Terminal Reality made the Ghostbusters game, and it was being written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, and they had all the cast members, all the original Ghostbusters were coming back, and they approached Sigourney Weaver. Now, not the actors. The actors didn't approach Sigourney Weaver. It wasn't like Bill Murray called up Sigourney Weaver or something like that and was like, hey, yeah, we're doing a Ghostbusters thing. But, the studio approached her agent, and she summarily threw the invitation out. She was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then later, after she had turned it down and they had rewritten the script to allow for the new female character, which was voiced by Alyssa Milano, only then did she learn that everybody, the whole team, was coming back, with the exception of Rick Moranis, perhaps, Only then was she oh, why didn't somebody tell me? And that, that's kind of okay, so you made a judgment about acting in a video game, but then when you learned that all of the people that had made this movie were that this was almost the true sequel, only then were you oh, I wish I had done that. Not that I'm Sigourney Weaver's a terrible person or anything like that. It just says...
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It just says something about the way people perceive video games when they don't play them.
It's funny because there was a an interview with David Cage and Ellen Page that was promoting Beyond Two Souls. I think it was at some conference or another that I uploaded on the site, and it talking about, they're hey, do you play video games? And Ellen Page was I played a lot of Sonic when I was little. I guess she plays games, but once you're at a certain level of I don't know, fame or popularity or busyness, I don't expect these people to keep up with other things. You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad at Kiefer Sutherland for not being a gamer. He has shit to do.
Yeah.
But there's a sense of does this person care about the project at all, or is it just a paycheck to them? And that's where I guess this whole kind of thing is. can ruffle people's feathers.
At any point in time when somebody is engaging in a work of creativity, you want to make sure that, because it could mean anything to anybody. I mean, I'm not saying that, like, you know, there are people who go home and they play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, or not 2, we'll call it 2. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and, you know, weep themselves to sleep at the drama, you know, but sure enough, there are people who, like, that game means so much to them. And you would like to think that everybody involved is as passionate or as interested in crafting that experience and making that game as much as it possibly could be. You want people to care about what you care about. It's why we get upset about, you know, when somebody else, like one of your friends, doesn't like your favorite band, or when, like, you're watching a movie or a TV show. I mean, the entire internet is rife with people being like, you don't like one of the things that I have a passing interest in. You are therefore the worst human being in the world.
I think this might actually be a good time. We got a question on the earlier episode what we thought about Kiefer Sutherland. Do we actually have any opinions? I don't think we've ever gone on record. Do we care that he is Snake now? Is Metal Gear ruined forever?
I don't know about anyone else, but I'm fine with it. David Hayter did a great job. No one could say he didn't, but wanted to move on. Kiefer Sutherland, sure, I could see him doing a good job too. I'm not, like, really stressed either way.
Austin?
Well, I mean, knowing Kojima, I think he has something else up his sleeve. I wouldn't be surprised if you get to the final boss and it's David Hayter playing himself.
That'd be hilarious.
And so you have to fight off David Hayter, who wants his voice acting job back. But yeah, I guess I feel basically the same way. I liked Hayter a lot, but I'm not losing any sleep over Sutherland doing it. It'd be one thing if it was like a really shitty actor, I guess. Sutherland's fine.
I got a little bit of love for Kiefer Sutherland. I think that his recent profile in media is a little one note, but I think that's really just the fact that he did 24 for so long. Can I just say, like, how many shitty days does a guy get to have?
It's the John McClane effect. After a while, you just stop believing that it's possible to get caught up in that much.
This guy had fucking, like, 8 really shitty days that all intersected with, like, nuclear bombs and presidential assassinations and, like, it's like, geez, man, get a job at Kinko's. But I mean, if we ignore 24 and actually look at the body of Kiefer Sutherland's work, he kind of interests me as an actor because he's got some really weird sort of off movies that he does, you know, like stretching as far back as when he was like, you know, a really young guy, like fucking Lost Boys and oh god, what was that? Oh god, that weird Joel Schumacher movie about the people who die and come back to life. Flatliners, you know, yeah. Or Dark City, or that really strange Little Red Riding Hood update that he did. You know, like he's kind of got, I don't know, you know. I kind of respect him as an actor. I think that he can definitely do, obviously, the sort of grizzled war veteran thing. So I think he's going to be all right as Snake. I think it just depends, what Kojima has planned.
Yeah, you can never nail that guy down. Like, as soon as you think you got a handle on it, he just flip it on you. So.
And then he'll throw in some pin-up posters just for the sake of it.
And while we're on the subject of Kojima, can I please address something that was written in the comments for last week's podcast?
I can't stop you.
Okay, all right. Because I was confronted, basically, where I was, quote-unquote, defending Resident Evil 6 and slamming on Metal Gear Solid. So I'm just going to quickly address these point for point to a listener, because you know who you are. All right? Number one, you say I'm treating our Resident Evil as horror? I'm not, because it's not scary. It's never been scary. And it's like saying Metal Gear Solid is a bad game because magic and science. I never said that. I said that Metal Gear Solid 2 was bad because the writing was horrible.
Nanomachines, son.
Well, hey, I will get to Revengeance when it comes out on PC. As far as seeing mutation, point number 2 you make, mutation in the early Resident Evil games is really over the top. Yes, I've seen John Carpenter's The Thing, and it was totally awesome, but, I was willing to suspend disbelief. What I was saying is that the huge cellular growth that Austin was criticizing the other week in Resident Evil 6, I'm like, that's been a staple of Resident Evil for some time now.
Well, also, correct me if I'm wrong, but John Carpenter's The Thing, that is an alien that shapeshifts. It doesn't violate any laws of physics in doing so, does it?
Yeah, it basically infects tissue, and then, yeah.
Yeah, but it remains the same size. It doesn't gain just size from nothing.
Some of the mutations are sort of like, I guess, a little sketchy, but then you can easily say that it's like absorbing tissue from other organisms. And
well, it ate like a camp full of people.
Practically, yeah.
So,
although
whatever.
It did change size sometimes, but it was justified, more or less.
Well, I mean, we could do a whole show on just Resident Evil, but
maybe we should one of these times. That'd be hilarious, I think.
One of these days, we'll hijack Thumb Wars from Sean. We do that sometimes. I'm like, Sean, I'm canceling your show this week. I'm taking it. Well, we might do that. But, yeah. So where did how did we get here from Ellen Page?
Ellen Page looks like Ellie. Ellie's in a game with zombies. They're not the same kind of zombies, but zombies are in Resident Evil. There you go. I made your point.
I'm not sure that's actually how we did it, but I
no,
like
it's not, but it is a pass.
There we go.
So, in summation, Resident Evil sucks, The Last of Us is good, and Beyond Two Souls is probably going to be okay, but very crippled by Cage's writing.
It's going to give you the feels. It's just the feels that you're going to get. It's going to start as empathy, and then it's going to move to disgust.
The only feels Cage gives me is nausea.
Oh,
jeez. Have you seen the gameplay footage for Beyond Two Souls?
It's all QuickTime.
Well, no, they're not QuickTime events. He was very specific. They're not QuickTime events. Okay. You just wait for the prompt, and then you push the button to do the action.
That's a QuickTime event.
He says they're not, though, so you can't call them QuickTime events.
So
if they're not QuickTime events.
Maybe they're just not quick. Maybe it's just time events.
They're slow time events.
Sure, why not? They're not QuickTime events then, so we wouldn't be wrong.
Good God, man. I don't know why that guy is in this industry. I have no idea.
Yeah, we've had this same conversation like 6 times. You want to move on to the next story?
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next story. The next story that we're going to go with here also features a big name in gaming. And speaking about women as main characters in games, Ellen Page, starring in Beyond Two Souls, comes from Shigeru Miyamoto, who, if you don't know, I have no idea what you're doing listening to this podcast. So Mr. Miyamoto was talking to Kotaku about how the gamer base is becoming more and more diverse, particularly in the vein of gender. So that more and more women are playing games, and more women want to be able to play as women in games. And, in fairness, Mr. Miyamoto says that when many of Nintendo's multiplayer-styled games come out, and I know this is true for Mario Kart and Mario Tennis and a lot of the Mario parties and whatnot, there are women he says, which might actually be accurate in the early years, represented. Of course, Princess Peach was one of the playable characters for all of those. However, Nintendo recently has come under a lot of criticism and fire lately for propagating this damsel in distress problem that everybody's having. Now, before anybody goes off on the damsel in distress thing, we are not actually talking about whether or not games have a problem with the concept of damsel in distress. We're talking about Mr. Miyamoto's comments here. And it's...
we don't want to Sarkeesian's law of this show.
I got absolutely no desire to engage in a public forum where nobody is listening to anybody else, but everybody's talking all at the same time. So... what Miyamoto says, and I'm going to place my faith in the translator here, that it's accurate, was, I guess for me in particular, the structure of the gameplay always comes before the story. And so we're always looking at, when we're putting that together, what is the most natural story to take place within that structure? So if we end up creating a gameplay structure where it makes sense for, whether it's a female to go rescue a male, or a gay man to rescue a lesbian woman, or a lesbian woman to rescue a gay man, we might take that approach.
I mean, it sounds great. The words he is saying they hit the ear all good and whatnot. You're like, yes, gameplay should come first, and then you shouldn't try to force these things. I'm hearing him, but all I can think about is that nothing about any of the games they have made necessitates patriarchal gender stereotypes. There's no reason that straight Mario has to save straight Peach. That is not conducive to the gameplay. It seems like the real answer here is Nintendo is a family company. There's no reason to rock the boat if we don't have to.
It's obviously marketing.
But yeah, he's not going to say that. It's the same thing. I don't know if you guys saw this, but one of the people, I don't remember if it was the director for the new Shin Megami Tensei game, someone asked him if they were going to ever have a female protagonist for one of the mainstream Shin Megami Tensei releases. Like, they had one for Persona 2, but they asked him if they were going to have one of those, and they're like, oh, well, statistically, men are more likely to survive in a post-apocalyptic scenario, so we probably will stick with male heroes. And it's like, the answer to that question is not that. Like, that's what you're saying, but the real answer is men buy video games. We don't want to alienate our core fan base.
What you're saying is awful things like men earn more money in the workplace than women, so therefore they have more disposable income. They are more likely to spend their money on frivolous things like video games. So, yeah, it's going to be a dude.
Okay.
I mean, I can kind of understand and respect if you're just like a pure capitalist and you just don't care about the art. Like, you know what? Maybe that's why you got in the business. That's fine. That's not a value judgment on you. But I do kind of resent the rhetoric that, we really are thinking about issues of inclusivity. We just haven't found the right game yet. It's like Metroid is not in any way affected by Samus's vagina. Nothing about her being a woman influences or informs the gameplay.
No, but as I understand it, the last Metroid game was severely influenced by what men think having a vagina means.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to go down the other M rabbit hole, but yeah.
Don't, so let's not either.
I will just, quickly, I know at least one person is going to comment that it wasn't Team Ninja's fault that Other M sucks. I don't care whose fault it is. The game is clearly written by men for men, so...
what are you on, your period?
Oh, Jesus. I don't know how deep I want to get into this, because I have all kinds of thoughts on this whole issue. You know me. I'm always talking about we need more gay characters, we need more trans characters, more women characters, and I hear all these excuses, and it kind of rubs me the wrong way. If you want to maintain the status quo because you think it makes you more money, then do that. Whatever. But don't feed me bullshit.
It's all about money. It's always been about money. All of it. That's the only reason why the video games industry is as big as it is right now. Come on, if it was 6 guys with homemade controllers in a basement in fucking, I don't know, Germany, do you really think that anybody would give a rat's ass? No. It's always money. That's all it is.
But here's the thing. I feel like that whole concept is we must pander to the straight white male because that's where the money is. I feel like that's kind of proving to be faulty logic because, you see all these studios going out of business, all these publishers, everyone's scrambling. The industry is dying. We need to start packing in DLC to make up all this costs. Oh, my God, DRM. So obviously your approach is flawed. Maybe alienating huge swaths of the population was not a smart business move, dumbasses. Like, yes, statistically, a majority is straight white males. But there are plenty of other people who have interest in video games that you are ignoring and whose money is perfectly valid in every country that I can think of, that you're just leaving that on the table because you don't have any kind of... You have such tunnel vision. Look at Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing's fucking tearing up the sales charts right now. And that game... everyone I know with a vagina is playing that game, okay? That's just... There's no reason for them to ignore minorities because they don't think there's any money there. There's clearly money there. You guys just don't want it for some reason.
We're also talking about a system, and I mean, I really hate digging into this right here because it makes me sound like I'm talking about the man and whatnot, but we are talking about a system that is engineered from the ground up to keep the old guard in power. You know, I talk all the time about how I don't like, how I feel like the video game industry is managed by people who don't understand it. But they see dollar signs there, and they go, oh, well then, now let's talk business. You know, and it really is. Like, it's a system that's managed by men who grew up in a time where men played video games, where men make money, where men make the decisions in the family, and there's a relativism there. It's like it's bothersome to me that they are. It seems to me, at least, anyways, that they are dragging this idea of the way they think the world works with them to their own detriment. Because we are talking about, like, video games are pretty much cutting edge. They do things unlike any other entertainment industry does them. They move technology rapidly. They faster and faster. It's not just a case of like the movie industry where it's sort of like, yeah, we invented this thing called film. Oh, well, that should probably do us for about the next 6 decades. New technologies coming out, new ways to gather audience, new means of interaction, new ways to get people excited, new marketing, new audiences, all of this stuff, right? But then to have these archaic ideas that it's like the only way that you can sell a game is if Call of Duty, and we're seeing that more and more and more. I mean, Dead Rising 3, yeah, we're trying to grab the Call of Duty crowd. Oh, great.
I mean, that's actually a good comparison. It's Call of Duty syndrome. If it makes the most money, so let's all do that. It's like that is a game essentially for teenage boys. So all games need to be for teenage boys.
It's homogeneity, like you can't just, if you're all chasing the same trophy, only one person's gonna get it.
And Activision already has it. Why not go for some of the other trophies?
Yeah. There are markets there that you can't possibly conceive how large they are or how passionate they are or how quickly they would be willing to fork over money if you actually made a product that was designed for them.
And also, I mean, if you want an example, I feel like a lot of times we're kind of talking in conceptual terms here, but BioWare, not counting their recent stuff, but they've always been very, inclusive. They have a lot of, gay characters, a lot of characters with different stuff going on. And I feel like they've earned a loyal fan base. They have people who trust them and will buy their stuff. And I feel like that's kind of proof of concept of this in kind of a larger sense, where you're like, look, other people count and will spend money on your products if you actually acknowledge they exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Weak excuses.
I do feel bad because I piled all that on Miyamoto's doorstep, and he seems like a genuinely nice and thoughtful person. But when you ask him that question, what can he say other than, we work with established cultural archetypes that are inherently misogynist because that's the culture from which all of this stems. Sorry.
And it's, we talked about Japan and potential cultural differences in terms of the way that we see these things. A few episodes, I think, on the podcast. I can't remember how many ago, but we did talk about that, and I realize that I have no patience for it. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy being like, oh well, it's another culture, therefore it's kind of okay. I hate having that standpoint. I really do. But when it comes down to business making decisions because money. Yeah, okay. All right, that's fine. But as you said, Austin, cut the bullshit. Just say it up front. It's a fiscal decision.
You know who cuts the bullshit when it comes to sex and video games?
You know I do. Why don't you tell me about him, Austin?
We've talked before. I think of all the people on here that we kind of idolize, there's certain things that we hold up on this podcast. We talk about Amnesia: The Dark Descent a lot.
We fillet Steam pretty frequently.
Yeah, that's another thing. One of the other things, especially when Leon was here, was Suda51 and his company Grasshopper Manufacture. They are kind of the antithesis of what we were talking about. They put it all out front. Their selling point is the lack of subtlety and bullshit. They get kind of right to the heart of anything they do. For better and worse, a lot of people think that he and their products are sexist, and that is a perfectly valid argument, maybe for another day. But at E3, Suda gave an interview in which he talked about some of the accusations of sexism, I guess, basically with Lollipop Chainsaw in particular, that people were like, why are you so blunt about all the boobage? And he said, basically, anytime you make anything, people are going to criticize it. Like, that's just the nature of art. And if people weren't criticizing it, it wouldn't be having any impact. So he kind of welcomes that when people say, look at what you're doing, don't do that, that offends me. Like, he's not bothered. But for me, the bigger quote was from later when he said that, they're going to do what they're going to do as far as objectification and whatnot goes because they think it's funny. They think boobs are funny. They think butts are funny. They think sex is funny. And to him, it's all just one big circus. He does not give a single solitary shit. What do you guys think of that?
I think it's a little difficult to, honestly, like if you sit down and watch any Suda 51, I think it's really difficult to take any of it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people say Shadows of the Damned is sexist, and I'm like, it's pretty clearly a comedy, and everything is exaggerated towards that end. I don't think you're supposed to see it and go, yes, that's a healthy relationship, let me emulate that. You're supposed to be like, that's fucked up, and then laugh. That is the appropriate response.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone could ever say that Suda 51's games were supposed to be taken seriously, like, almost ever. And granted, I'm not the one who is apparently should be offended by this, obviously, but I generally don't take offense to things if they're clearly meant to be in jest, and with how over-the-top Suda's games are, even something like the Gigolo mode in Killer is Dead, I can only just laugh and shake my head and say, Suda.
I think Leon said it before that it was like you could use humor as kind of a deflection of criticism of things like sexism and racism. Do you think that's just a sufficient argument? Like something like Blazing Saddles, like it's a joke, the end, conversation's over. Or do you think that only gets you like halfway and you need to have a quality in a cohesion of humor to really make it count?
I think it does, like saying, oh, it's a joke, gets you halfway. But the only thing I think that gets you the other way, like the other half, excuse me, is if it's funny. You can't just be like, I fucked your mom. It's a joke.
I laughed, so.
I know, but you laughed at the absurdity of the example.
Yeah, I know.
Mm.
The most important thing that you can do when you're saying it's a joke is actually manage to make it an effective joke. Because otherwise, all you wind up with is just, like, lame defense. You can't just throw a game out that's got, or, like a game, a joke, a movie, a TV show, what have you, that has, like, tits and ass and nudity and this and that, and then after the fact, when people are disgusted, just be like, oh, no, it's a joke. That's not a defense. If it's a joke, people should be able to actually, like, recognize that it's a joke. They should be able to find it funny. And, of course, you're going to have people that are like, regardless of the state of this as humor or drama, I am incredibly offended by it. But comedy has a deep history of offending tons of people.
The best comedy probably should offend someone.
They've gone down in history. Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, like, these names were black marks on American culture at certain points in time. Yeah. So, I mean, if Suda 51 can make something that you can recognize as humor and is funny and is, like kind of sexy and maybe a little reductionist, okay, fine. If you're walking out of that at the end of it and going, yeah, that's exactly how the world works. No.
This actually reminds me, if you guys remember, Sean reviewed Hyperdimension Neptunia Victory, and it was a whole fiasco. He gave it like a 2, and it was like...
Yes, I do.
He shit all over it. And people were saying that he was a prude and that he didn't get that it was just supposed to be, fan service, comedy or whatever. And I've seen a bit of that game, and my problem is that it tries to be sex comedy, but it's not funny and it's not sexy. Like, there's no problem with pushing the envelope into offensive territory if you succeed at your goal. But if you kind of half-ass it, it just ends up distasteful. I guess I'm kind of piggybacking on what you're saying, Johnny. If you want to be sexy, be sexy. If you want to be funny. But if you're just gross, then you're gross, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's just more the thing. You can be offensive, or you can be, in that example, a little bit sexy or something, but you can't just be offensive or something to be offensive. You have to be offensive to be funny and succeed with that. Like, No More Heroes is a pretty good example. Like, Travis Touchdown, for example, on the surface, totally unlikable jerk, completely ridiculous, kind of offensive in the way he acts toward a lot of different things. But I remember I did a whole, like, characters with character article, guest spot for the other Robert, where I looked a bit more deeper into it, and he's not just that. There's more to Travis than that.
Well, it's a satire of, like, a otaku subculture, right?
Yeah, that's partly it. But even then, he's actually a character who develops a bit in the course of all of that. Yes, he is like that at the beginning, but by the end of it all, he's still kind of like that, but he stands for something more. And it doesn't always have to mean something either, but in the end, you can't just be offensive to be offensive. There's got to be something there.
I think we're all pretty much in agreement on this. This is a unanimous kind of decision we've reached. I like it.
You know what's a really I'm just gonna pull this because it vaguely relates to gaming because I'm really looking forward to this. Is South Park.
Mm-hmm.
South Park is incredibly offensive.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if it didn't have any like societal relevance. Like if they just came out with like the jokes they do with no context, that show would be like unwatchable.
I'll be honest with you. I find the first couple seasons pretty unwatchable.
There you go.
Because they're just, like, oh, Cartman's got a thing in his butt, and aliens, and then there's this monster that's got David Cassidy for a leg, or whatever, and I'm just sort of like, okay, you're all right. But then, around, like, season 3 or 4, it turns out that the episodes are actually about things.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. It went from kind of, like, absurdist, random humor to, like, social satire, and that made its grosser moments maybe not meaningful, but like with some context, I feel like you could get something from watching it, and you don't feel like you're just rolling around in someone else's brain filth for no reason.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to what Suda was saying, because he said, we don't want to make people offended, but we're trying to create something that makes people laugh a bit because we're dealing with that topic. Stuff like sexuality in games and a bunch of the things South Park and other stuff touches is kind of hard to talk about in direct ways, because almost everyone will act up in arms or defensive, or people will act that way. But if you cover it a bit in something like humor, then it becomes a bit easier to talk about, because there's something else to bring up the issue, but you can kind of get a little bit off and basically make the whole situation lighter.
Humor is the ultimate disarmament. It really is. There is no other reason on this planet why somebody would go onto the internet to Google a commercial.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. It's like that all they're trying to do is sell you stuff, but you just want to see the Old Spice guy in the shower making jokes.
Yeah.
It is the ultimate disarmament.
Wow, guys, we didn't have any dissent. Nobody argued at all during any of the news stories. We got to find something more divisive so we could yell at each other.
You guys are both jizz magicians.
Sir, I take offense.
Spermomancy.
That's right.
Well, I know there's a game with orgy-mancy or something in it somewhere. So
of course. I'm trying to remember, because we talked about the porn game last week, and someone in the comments was like, oh, do you know about Japanese visual novels? And I was like, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do. we had
episode with Gabe?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we had Gabe on here, and if you want to talk about that stuff, we are aware of it. We pretend like we're not, though. I wonder, mainstream sites, like IGN or Polygon or something, if they know, because I feel like sometimes they're so disconnected from, the fringes of this hobby that maybe they would be shocked, but we're not those people.
There's no
That
shock.
should kind of be a thought experiment almost. Show it to a bunch of prominent people in the gaming community show like that. I don't know, that game Gabe mentioned to people.
Show Saya no Uta to Jeff Cayley.
Oh God. They probably find him the next day in his shower with like empty jugs of Mountain Dew, just shivering, being like, "Can't get clean."
You feel as though a million showers will never make you clean?
I actually met Jeff Cayley at E3. He seems like a pretty good guy.
I imagine so, but I mean, you got to admit that it's a little difficult to shake the association.
Yeah, I guess that picture will haunt him, I guess. Industry.
Indeed.
You so crazy.
So, do you guys want to talk about games we played? I know I promised a less game-heavy episode this week, so if we move on from the news and try to get some personal anecdotes, hopefully let's go somewhere crazy.
Yeah,
you guys want to do that?
We could talk about games. We could do that.
Robert, I heard, Johnny, were you finishing a thought?
I was just going to say, I think you guys are handsome.
I am pretty handsome.
I think you're handsome, too.
Oh, Robert.
No, Johnny's cute. We're handsome. It's different. What were we talking about?
Why am I cute?
It means you're precious.
No, that's the one ring. The one ring is precious.
Don't worry, Yorsky. I'm going to get you later after school by the swing set.
Robert, I heard you played The Last of Us. Apparently I overhyped it. What did you think?
I liked it.
Damn right you did.
No, but I can definitely see why everyone is giving it all the accolades they are. It is a very well-designed game. Everything that happens feels like it has a purpose happening. All the different aspects of gameplay are clearly defined, work well, and feel good when you do them. Like choking out some guy from the back, you really feel that you're choking out some guy. I mean, but it's true.
I know, it's just a shame Johnny isn't here because he could have spun that into some pretty good gay porn jokes.
I could do that. I want to keep the persona I have right now as that third guy who isn't too offensive. You
need a podcast persona. You need, like, Johnny is the goofball. I'm kind of like the straight man to his goofball. What are you? You can't be the Leon because there already was a Leon. So what are you? I
can be the guy who makes the occasional odd comment that makes you two laugh. That seems to happen a few times.
Am I really the goofball?
You're pretty goofy, Johnny.
I know I'm goofy, but I was under the impression that it was more strange than goofy.
Can it be both?
I suppose. I'll be okay with the split down the middle.
Anyway, mushroom zombies.
Mushroom zombies, yes. Oh, clickers suck. I'm going to put that out there. If you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, they're basically...
I haven't. I don't. You're confusing me.
Well, then, let me confuse you more. Bloaters. That's a thing, too.
That's actually one of... I didn't say this one last week. One of the things that kind of bothered me about The Last of Us is it feels like sometimes it is trying to be like other zombie games. It's like, oh, Left 4 Dead had different zombie types. We need different zombie types. So yeah, there's the clickers and the bloaters and there's other things like that. It's like, you guys, you could have just done your thing. You didn't need to do... Because, I mean, they are essentially like what you think of as the... What are those things called?
Special infected?
Yeah, they're special infected, basically. And it's like... I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
it's not.
I get what you're coming from, although at least they justify it in-game as why there are different types. So I'll give them that much.
There is something to be said. Let's be clear here. It seems as though when Naughty Dog set out to make a zombie game, they wanted to make a zombie game unlike any other zombie games. But there is something to be said for easing people into that. And having something like, say, a familiar enemy set. I say this without having any prior, any knowledge whatsoever of, the adversaries in Last of Us. But having things that are familiar within the genre, and when I say genre, I'm talking video games specifically here, zombie video games specifically, can do a lot to ease players into the situation.
Yeah, there's a sense of familiarity about it. You're not completely without any reference when a giant zombie walks in the room and you have to fight it in a boss fight. It just feels like...
Oh shit. There's a giant zombie in the room that I'm going to have to fight for a boss fight.
Yeah, it's effective, but I'm saying it succumbs to the video game-iness. It's very gamey to have a giant zombie boss fight. And if there is criticism of it, that it kind of occasionally is like other games, I guess. That's not really that big of a deal. But I've seen some people say, "Oh, it didn't blow my mind. It's just a video game." And yeah, it is. It's a video game.
But anyway, back on what I was talking about. The sound design is really good, and especially because it has to be, considering the aforementioned clickers are completely sound-based. Like, if you could be right next to them, and as long as they didn't hear you, you'd be fine. Although, if they do catch you, they will instant kill. But still. And also, the characters are very well just developed and defined. Joel is not a nice guy. And it's kind of nice to have a main character who's kind of a douche, but an understandable one, considering the world space they're living in.
Yeah, he's an anti-hero.
Yeah, definitely. And despite how many places look a bit similar, it's kind of like Metro in that way. Like I said last time, even though the places are similar, they all feel different. I never really felt like I was going through the exact same place, even once. Anytime it was about to run out its welcome, we moved on to some place else that looked different.
It was like, yeah, you've seen one ruined cityscape, you've seen them all, but, you know, I can think of every single individual area in the game. There's, like, Pittsburgh, and there's the Winter Lodge, and there's the zoo area near the end, and it's like...
I do want to highlight the fact that the winter section's really awesome.
I was talking about this with Yusuf, and like everyone I talked to, it's like, if you're going to play The Last of Us, once you hit winter, you're like, yes, this is the game this game was meant to be.
It did really, like, hit its stride right there. It was already walking pretty along the line very well, but it was really on the nose for that section especially.
Yep.
But anyway, I don't want to go on too long about The Last of Us because we already discussed it at length before. So basically, to sum up, yes, it's a very good game. Yes, it'd probably be a good idea to play it to get a sense of why everyone thinks it's as good as it is, and to experience the good design on display throughout. I'm not sure I'd put it at quite as high as everyone else has been saying it is.
Yeah, well, why not?
Well, it's a bit hard to describe. I can't really find any explicit faults, per se. There are a few nagging little issues, but I don't know, maybe I'm just incredibly jaded. I can't really truly enjoy anything completely anymore, but it is an incredibly good game.
It could just be that you prioritize the importance of certain things in video games above or below other people. You know, like it was some kind of subjective art form or entertainment or something. I know, that sounds ridiculous. I'll shut up.
Yeah, Johnny, just get back in your corner.
Did you play anything else?
I did, in fact. I have been playing Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Aw, shit.
Which, I mean, I didn't expect much else considering it's platinum, and I haven't found a platinum game I dislike, but I have really been enjoying it.
Robert?
Yes?
Did you nanomachines?
I did nanomachines. I nanomachined all over the place.
Excellent.
I mean, it's kind of like viruses in Resident Evil, almost. How did this happen? Nanomachines. How did this happen, virus?
Well, the difference is that nanomachines are like, you know, they can be programmed to do different things.
Well, yeah, but come on.
And
all the stuff in the Metal Gear universe is not completely justified by nanomachines.
Also, Metal Gear has a sense of humor, which, as we've established, can help excuse some things that otherwise would be problematic.
You make a point. You make a point.
But anyway, Revengeance, which, surprisingly enough, is actually a word. It's ridiculously awesome. I mean, that's really the way I can put it. It's got a few flaws. Combat can be a little bit simplistic sometimes, and the dialogue is silly. I mean, it's not always a bad thing. I appreciate it for being as silly as it is sometimes, but occasionally it can go a bit too far. But it's still really enjoyable on the whole. The combat is nice, slicing up people into the number of parts, whatever. And I really like how they give you an counter for how many parts you have sliced this thing into when you cut something like that. So that's a nice touch. But it just feels really good to cut it all up. It's Metal Gear. It's still Metal Gear in its story, even if it's a rather simplistic one, considering how short the game is. And I really have to say, the bosses are freaking awesome, as they should be. I mean, I haven't beaten the entire game yet. I'm, like, on the last couple levels or so. Very close. But already, I love every single boss I fought, especially Miss Trawl.
Miss Trawl has the best theme song, too.
She does. I mean, that theme is awesome. Although Monsoon's is good, too.
They're all good.
Yeah, they are. But her whole thing is she gets a bunch of arms, and she has a pole arm made of robot arms that she can also use as a whip.
So you'd say that she's pretty handy with her arms?
Yeah, I'd say she's pretty well armed.
You guys are the worst. Did you guys read the article I wrote about that, where that entire character and scenario is based on the Albert Camus novel, The Stranger?
I did not, because when it was revealed to me that Revengeance is definitely coming from the PC, I was like, I need to stop reading stuff about this.
Oh,
yeah.
Spoiler lockdown.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to spoil much else for you because she's a pretty early boss, so it's not really.
Yeah, it's like the third boss.
Much. Something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've been really enjoying Revengeance. It's just so... The bosses are just so ridiculous. The things Raiden can do are ridiculous. And I can't help but appreciate just how much fun it is and how great... I mean, I know I keep saying it, but how great the boss battles are.
I also hope that by purchasing Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, it will express my love for the Metal Gear series, and maybe have someone consider possibly releasing Metal Gear 5 to the PC.
Hint, hint,
That would
nudge,
be good.
nudge, wink, wink, punch in face.
Vote with your dollar.
But yeah, actually, when it came out, I talked about that. It's basically like the Shadow of the Colossus of Platinum games. It's just like a series of badass boss fights, just with some couple of guys in between that you need to cut up.
I mean, it is still fun to cut up those guys.
Yeah, it's fine, but it's like, that's not the reason you play the game.
Oh, no, I mean, but Metal Gear has a lot of good things about it, but it's always had great boss fights. I mean, you still remember... You disagree?
It's always had memorable boss fights.
All right, there we go. Okay, that's a better adjective.
Vulcan Raven was some bullshit, I'll just say that.
I'm sorry, but Fat Man on rollerblades with fucking explosives, I was like... I'm shooting against a fat guy in a bomb suit on rollerblades who's drinking.
You've never forgotten that for a single moment afterwards, though.
I can't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I'm incapable of forgetting it. So yes, memorable, great.
Yeah.
I
me
never
get back
said
to
they
you
were
on that.
all good, but it has had good fights throughout.
Yes.
Like
There are
for every fat man, there is a Psycho Mantis.
Yeah, all right. Now, don't get me wrong. I hate on Metal Gear Solid 2 so much that people must be like, oh god, he didn't like Metal Gear Solid was genius, top to bottom. I fucking love that game. I've played it through 12 times. I have.
I really like the bosses from 3, especially.
3 is impeccable. We've been over this. I think between Resident Evil and Metal Gear, we might need to just have some kind of moratorium on those subjects for a while. Jeez,
maybe that should be like a what would you call it? Addition to the name of the podcast, BT Podcast, featuring Metal Gear and Resident Evil.
I'm sorry, listeners. I gave Revengeance a 9. Yusuf gave The Last of Us a 10. How do you feel about those scores? Because you've played both of them kind of back to back, and those are kind of the front runners for Game of the Year.
Well, Last of Us, I'm not exactly sure. I'm kind of between a 9 and a 10. I'm not exactly sure what I'd give it, but either way, that's about on point. It is a very good game, and considering the effect it's definitely going to have on the industry, I would probably say it's legendary for that simple fact alone, aside from the very solid design. As for Revengeance, somewhere between an 8 and a 9, probably leaning a bit more toward 8.
For the listeners, this bastard gave Fire Emblem a 9, so don't trust him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Fire Emblem's clearly a 12.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. You must have hidden the higher
12.
number options from me. If I'd known, I might have given it a 12, but someone didn't reveal the secrets to me, so look what's happened.
Jeez. So those are the 2 you played? You got a good week of gaming then?
Oh yeah, I got a great one, and hopefully I'll be picking up Project Cross Zone within the next couple days, so I'll be able to play that too.
Yep. Gabe's playing it right now for review. Hopefully he'll have that up tomorrow. We'll see.
Either way, I am looking forward to it. I have a weakness for crossovers, I admit.
I just want to see Cosmos again. I know the game is probably going to be okay, but even if it was shit.
I mean, I played Namco Cross Capcom, and she was the best unit in that game.
As she should be. Have you seen the shit she does in Xenosaga?
I've played through them all. I enjoy them. Some too. And I have to be clear on this. And Cosmos is awesome. Who doesn't love her? I mean, there's a reason that in the other crossover, the Super Robot one, aside from including the characters from Marvel Cross Capcom, Cosmos is in there too. Why? I don't care. Cosmos is there. I'm not going to complain.
Pretty much. Johnny, do you want to talk about what you played next?
Yeah, sure, if you like.
Okay.
Well, let me tell you a story. A story.
All about how your life got flipped.
I knew you'd
upside
do
down.
that. I could feel it in my bones.
No, this is a story all about how last Wednesday I got a message on Twitter from
I'm sorry.
from a buddy of mine named Austin Yorsky.
Oh, now it's my fault. You're gonna tell this story like I'm the bad guy.
No, I'm not at all. It just as a pretext.
You ungrateful fuck.
Where my buddy Austin Yorsky, to myself and another writer on Blister Thumbs, is like, hey, I've got a really time-sensitive PC review to be done. Who's up for it? And what with me moving much closer to work now, like, you know, I'm still, like, getting myself settled here and everything, but I have a lot more time to myself now that I'm not wasting, like, you know, 2 to 2.5 hours in traffic every day, right? So I'm like, yeah, I've got some more time. I think I can do it. And he's like, great. Check me out on Skype when you get home. So I get home and I contact him, and he's like, okay, here are all your details. You can get your code here and then download the assets there and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what am I doing? And he's like, Company of Heroes 2. I'm like, oh, okay. When does the embargo end? Like, when am I supposed to have the review up? He's like, well, Yusuf's had it for a little while now so far. He was supposed to write the review originally, but he might miss it because of, like, a couple of things or whatever. So, you know, just in case. I'm like, okay, great. Wednesday night, right? Wednesday night. So I'm like, so when is the review, you know, supposed to be up? He's like, oh, Friday morning at 9 o'clock. So
I could have done it, Johnny.
yeah, I have a job.
Fuck that weak shit.
I'm sorry.
Call in sick.
Call in sick. Even if I called in sick, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I got to, like, Mission 5.
Oh, whiner.
No, I'm just saying, I got to Mission 5 in the single-player campaign. Didn't even get a chance to look at the multiplayer or anything like that, you know. And that's Wednesday and Thursday night. And then I would have had to have the review written and ready to be posted by 9 a.m. on Friday. So I was like, huh. So that didn't happen. I didn't get that review out.
Yusuf has he missed it by like 10 hours, but it's up there if you want to read it.
Yeah, it is. It is up there. And but the point being is that I did get a chance to play a chunk of the single player campaign. And after it was released, or after the review was up on site, I futzed around in skirmish mode for a little while. So yeah, Company of Heroes 2. I did get a chance to play a little bit of that last week.
Did you shoot the Nazis?
I did.
How was that?
You know, I gotta tell you, I'm a little underwhelmed. Now, that's not to say that it's not good. You know, it's definitely good. I mean, Company of Heroes was one of my favorite strategy games that Relic has ever produced. Probably second favorite, because on account of how much I loved the homeworld games. So yeah, they waited quite a while to release Company Heroes 2. Like, not just, you know, there were a bunch of expansion packs that came out for Company Heroes 1, and then I think the last one was like 2007 or something like that. I really probably should Google that, but so it's sort of like if your last DLC came out in 2007, 5 years ago, you would really, really hope that what you came to the table with was something special, something really special. It gave you time to like reinvent and knuckle down and think and improve what went wrong. And I don't really feel like they did that. I feel like there was a lot of coattail riding. And I feel weird saying this about Relic Entertainment, because I love Relic Entertainment to death. You know, like, a Space Marine was so much fun. I love the Dawn of War series, like I said. I loved Company Heroes 1. I love the Homeworld games. But I don't know. There was something about it. There's something about Company Heroes 2 that just falls a bit flat for me. It's uninspired, it feels. It feels like it's it draws so much on what made the original Company of Heroes good. And like, the funny thing is, I feel like that would be okay if we got Company of Heroes 2 in, like, 2009. If it was like, Company of Heroes 2, I'd be like, oh my god, it's just like Company of Heroes 1. But, like, 6 years later? 7 years later? You know? I'm kind of like, you know, you finally decided to go back to it. You finally decided to investigate this IP again. And that was the best you could come up with? Now, I think my disappointment stems entirely from that, from my expectations for them to come back in a big way. Because, it's still Company of Heroes.
Eustace Review said basically that it just kind of comes off like a big expansion pack.
Almost, yeah.
So that's the feeling, basically?
Yeah, you know, and its saving grace is that it's an expansion. It's a full-price game expansion pack for a game that's honestly amazing.
That helps.
It really does, you know. But at the same time, it's just sort of... It is underwhelming. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that they couldn't capture a little bit of that magic. And it kind of got me thinking a little bit in terms of, you know, how many guys are still at Relic because I know some of the guys. I live in the Greater Vancouver Regional District, right? I live in Burnaby currently, which means nothing to most of you, but hey, I know some guys that have worked at Relic. And I had a brother that worked at EA, and people move in and out of this business all the time from, like, studio to studio. And, you know, we see the names of studios on products, and we go, oh, another game from these guys? I love these guys. And we just sort of take it on faith that it's the same guys that made all these other games that we love. And when I played Company Heroes 2, the real sense that I got is that it was a bunch of other guys who maybe, like, loved Company Heroes 1, but didn't really know how to get that fire going under themselves. That they had a great product to start to work with, and they did well with it, but it wasn't the same lightning in a bottle.
That's kind of a depressing thought, that even if the IPs we love live on, like, the people who made them special will not. So someday we will be getting, like, soulless Mario and Zelda titles.
Well, I got interviewed on the radio a couple of months ago because of the closure of LucasArts, right? And the first question that I got asked, the guy interviewing me was like a big fan of LucasArts back in the day, and he was quite surprised to hear me say, you know what, I was honestly kind of relieved they shut down because they were a bit of a lame dog for about the past 5 years. You know, it had been a long time since anybody at LucasArts that made any games that meant anything to me had worked there. But these guys are still out in the industry. They're still out doing things, you know. Like, I know a couple of guys at Relic who have moved on to Black Tusk now, the Microsoft game studio that they just opened up in Vancouver. You know, I know some guys who have moved on to, I can't remember the name of the studio. But, like, in any case, you know, yeah, this is kind of the sad thing, is that it's like, yeah, intellectual property, characters, franchises, they exist independently of their creators. And the people who make these things brilliant will not always necessarily be connected to these projects. It's a sad truth, but to get back on topic, excuse me, Company of Heroes 2 is good. It is. It is at least as good as Company of Heroes 1. But there was not enough in it to make me feel like, to make me say that Company of Heroes 2 was the sequel that we deserved, particularly after about, 6 years or so, 6 or 7 years. So, take from that what you will. It is as good as, but was that what you were looking for? I'm also almost finished with Skyrim's fucking Dawnguard DLC. And it's weird because I'm getting pumped because I'm almost finished with Skyrim.
Is that like, oh, thank God it's over pumped?
At this point, kind of, yeah.
I know that feeling, though, like when I've been reviewing games for 3 years now, and sometimes you're like, I can't wait for this to end.
Like, I'm really hoping that there's something really, really good up their sleeve in in Dragonborn. Like, I really hope they pull some fucking stops out, change things up a little bit, like, get some real consequence going on. But, I mean, it's Bethesda. They cheap out. Not on their development costs, not on their game worlds, but they cheap out when it comes to actually feeling like you've had an effect on the world. Congratulations, you've defeated all the dragons, but by the way, dragons are still going to be showing up, because, you know, there are dragons that don't know that you dragoned their dragons.
We need to have like a swear jar, but it's for every time Johnny bags on something everyone loves. Put a quarter in every time he talks shit about Metal Gear, Resident Evil, Elder Scrolls. Just we got to start saving up.
But who puts the coin in, Johnny?
Yes.
Oh, okay then.
What are we gonna
or
buy?
Sean.
What are we gonna buy with all these coins?
I'm gonna save up to get a new gaming PC.
Oh, is that so?
Yep.
We're not gonna send me to MagFest so I can troll everybody?
I mean, you can walk. Come on.
Yeah, Johnny, you only live in the Pacific Northwest. Let's walk to Washington, D.C.
You got it.
All right, time to get a pair of sandals.
If you do eventually get there, I'll probably be going, so meet me there.
I was thinking about going this January, actually. Thinking about it. Hadn't decided yet.
My favorite part is
fun.
the part where nobody will know who we are.
I had that last time I went. I was a bit late, so I didn't get to go to the actual BT panel, and I just kind of showed up at all the other BT things.
If we do, we should show up as 3/4 of the Blistered Thumbs Barbershop Quartet.
I'll sing. I can go for that. Let's practice. We need something to do.
All right, hang on.
No.
Resident Evil sucks. Come on,
Austin, you suck. Austin sucks.
Austin sucks.
Some people listen to this on the way to work. What if we cause a car crash because of our terrible singing? You'll feel very bad.
I'll have you know,
That's why
sir,
we
that
quit there.
I have been trained in singing. I just willfully choose to ignore that training.
I could
been
sing pretty well when I want to.
Well, you guys can record a separate singing podcast.
Well, then, why don't you go ahead and take charge and tell us what you've been playing?
Well, what should I talk about first? I played a game I know you've played, Johnny. Do you want to have a rapport real quick about that, or should I save that?
I think we can rapport.
We can rapport? I played Spec Ops: The Line.
That's a game.
Which is difficult to talk about without spoiling? I don't know. Is it an open secret at this point what the premise of the game is?
I don't know. You know, like there are some games where the experience is so intrinsically tied into the way the plot is written, and honestly, Spec Ops: The Line is one of those. I am loath to spoil things, but
we can save it if you want to do it at the end, and maybe a full spoiler rundown.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
All
so
right,
we don't get anyone who wants to play.
We'll do a full spoiler rundown
at the end. For now, just quick spoiler-free kind of talk. You gave it, I think, a 7.
Yeah.
It's a, as far as it goes as a shooter, it's
Yeah.
It's average, maybe a little below average, but the writing is special.
It was the only thing. The writing is the only thing that pushed it above a 5, honestly.
Yeah. And while it's not perfect, I think it may be mandatory to play it if you want to really have discussions on the medium. It's up there with like BioShock as far as kind of holding the player accountable not.
I am fully with you. I'm fully with you on that one. It enwraps the player in a way that most games only dream of being able to do.
Far Cry 3 did a similar thing as well.
But to way less effect. Like, far, far less effect.
Far Cry 3 is a much better game, let me be clear.
Yeah.
Infinitely superior on a technical level. But as far as the effectiveness of the stuff it tries to do with its writing, which, once again, it's hard not to... I mean, I went into this knowing what was going to happen in general terms, but even still, I was pretty like, wow... That is the thing now that I have to live with for the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if you still want to play the Spec Ops: The Line, or you haven't really heard of it, and this is the first time, maybe you want to cut it off after we're done here, and before we get to the spoiler part. And
we'll announce it firmly.
Yes, we will be very clear.
There will be fanfare.
But yeah, for everyone else, you probably should play it if you're listening to a 2-hour video game podcast, you probably care enough to play this game. So that was one thing I played. Another thing, really surprising. I went into this with no expectations. Zombie U for the Wii U. I kind of just been like, I haven't played my Wii U in months. There's nothing to play for it. I kind of missed the gamepad, so I put in Zombie U, and I was expecting it to be a tech demo. Tap the screen, swipe the screen, punch the screen, look at the zombies. Holy shit, guys! This is a really good game. It's really good. It's very tense. It might be the most effective horror experience since Amnesia: The Dark Descent.
Really?
That I've played. It's actually really well made. It's like the Wii U, the gamepad stuff, right? The tech demo aspects of it are there. It's like, your inventory management is on the screen, so you kind of you have to manage what you have in your bag, and that's a thing, right? And then your map's on the screen too. But like none of that overwhelms the experience, and I think it might even add to it, because if you're in a survival situation, you can't just pull out your gun, right? Just like at a moment, like you have to go through your bag, and it's like you can prioritize certain things to pull them out quicker. So that's like a side pouch on the bag or something, but it kind of recreates some of that hectic, oh shit, there's a zombie, I gotta get the thing. Like, it works well, and just the core experience, if you took away all the gamepad stuff, it is a really unsettling and uncomfortable kind of atmosphere for a game. It's like, I don't know if you guys know about the core concept of it, but if you die, you stay dead, and you take over another survivor, and you can go find your body and get your bag back, so you can kind of retain your items. It's almost like the Dark Souls of zombie games. It's very unforgiving.
Except that the real Dark Souls of zombie games is DayZ.
I haven't played that, but I'm aware of that. But that game doesn't really have, that's a mod, so it doesn't really have like a full kind of media experience to it, right?
Oh, it's coming out. There's a full release that the guy who did it, Dean Hall, also known as Rocket, is a member of the development staff for Arma 2. The game that it is a mod for. So when they discovered that Dean had made this like super amazing sweet zombie mod, they were like, hey, we're going to make a game. So now with the Arma 3 engine, which is the same as the second engine, is just way better optimized, they are going to have a full commercial release of DayZ. Not to be confused with WarZ, not to be confused with Infestation Survivor Stories, which is the same thing as WarZ.
We have a lot of zombies.
So many zombies. That's the thing. If my main complaint about Zombie U is that I'm just kind of over zombies, like the concept of zombies is not scary to me anymore.
Does anybody get the idea or get the feeling that if we actually had a zombie apocalypse, people would be so disaffected by zombies, it would be like, yeah, the undead are roaming the streets or something.
It'd be like Shaun of the Dead.
I feel like maybe that would be the initial reaction, but once you actually start seeing people die, I feel like there's no such thing as being desensitized to violence by fiction. Like, real violence is an entirely different thing.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I'm being wrong.
I know. You're being glib.
Austin. Cheeky.
Also, the load times are a little long. I think that might just be the Wii U. I think the Wii U might just suck, like, a little bit. I like the system. It just has really long load times for everything. But besides that, the game, it makes you, it's like that, you know how in Amnesia you feel like you're in danger because it's first person?
Yeah.
It has that. It is in first person, but it also has like one or two like attacks and you're dead. Like one bite and you're just straight done.
Lethality can do a lot.
Yeah, it's the immediacy of danger. It's like a lot of games, it's like, I can soak up bullets. It's not a big deal, so I don't really care. But when you're defenseless kind of as a character, it helps sell that illusion to you as a player.
Absolutely. A crucial component of a horror game.
And also just coming off of Resident Evil maybe helped, because this is actually a scary game with zombies. But it's just everything about the way, like the sound design is super effective. It has really minimalist music, but it's really creepy. It really does capture some of the things I've been wanting in a horror game for a while, like the sense of danger and having to scavenge. Like The Last of Us had some of that, but it's like I also had a flamethrower in my backpack, so
that thing was awesome. I only used it once too because I'm so horribly stingy when I have limited resources.
You're one of those misers that's like, I gotta save this for the boss. I gotta save this for the boss. And then you get to the boss and you're like, I don't have to use this yet.
I'm the kind of guy who at the end of an RPG will have 50 elixirs because I'm a hoarder.
No, I play games exactly the same way. It always gets. I never like make the mental connection. Like I keep dying at this boss fight. What am I doing wrong? I have the full inventory of the nuclear item, and I'm never using it because I'll have to save it. I beat The Last of Us with like a full bag of ammo. Just like I was maxed out on like everything because all I used was shivs the whole entire time.
Well, shivs are wonderful, so.
They are, but I went into my stats and it was like melee kills 300, like firearm kills 6.
Seriously, that's it?
Something like that, yeah.
Wow.
I was just saying it's funny because Resident Evil also keeps track of your stats, and I killed more zombies or more people in the first chapter of Resident Evil 6 than I did the entirety of The Last of Us.
Well,
and there are 20 chapters of Resident Evil, so 5%.
To be fair, you had to kill everything in Resident Evil.
No, you can run by a lot of the zombies.
Can you?
Yeah.
Well, I never played 6, so I wouldn't know.
Dealing death sparingly can make it more meaningful.
It's the Shadow of the Colossus effect. If you have more distinct encounters and fewer of them, it makes them more special. That's just common knowledge. This isn't like a brand new gameplay revelation we're busting out here.
It's not even a brand new media revelation. Like some of the most shocking violent scenes in movies are movies that shy away from violence until the entire Western genre, the entire samurai genre, they're all movies about these guys who are supposed to be incredibly skilled at using weapons going, no, I don't want to fight. No, I don't want to fight. Somebody being like, hey, fight me. And he's like, no, I don't want to fight. Fight me. No, I really don't want to fight. Okay, well, I'm going to shoot your girlfriend. Okay, now we're going to fight.
There's something to be said for using violence correctly. Game of Thrones is really good at that.
It's not just violence, but it's sex as well. I think this threads back to the discussion we were having into the concept of Suda 51's ideas about games. Is that I feel like there's this weird assumption that's going on right now that it's like if something's kind of sexy, it is therefore gratuitous.
It's possible to have tasteful eroticism.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's possible, sex and violence are two of the most primal historical things that humanity has to deal with. We have to be able to address it. Like writing a story about a serial killer and being like, oh, it's a serial killer that predates on women. Oh, well, that's misogynist. Well, no, because most serial killers are men, and they do often target women. The question is how you address it.
I was going to say, for the example I always go to, besides Shadow of the Colossus, have you ever seen the Philip Seymour Hoffman movie Capote?
Oh, yeah.
There's 2 gunshots in the entire film, and they are so effective.
Yeah.
And it's I've seen a billion action movies with, just thousands and thousands of rounds being fired, and I didn't give a shit about any of those bullets.
Yeah.
But those gunshots at the end of Capote, it's Jesus Christ, I felt that.
The hanging scene, too.
Yeah, it's really good. But, yeah, when you use something, kind of precision strikes of violence and sex can be more effective than just piling it on.
Yeah. Using those kind of things sparingly and building up to the point when it actually happens just makes them mean so much more in the overall scheme of things.
It's one of the things that I really like about Nicholas Winding Refn's movies. The guy who did Drive and Valhalla Rising.
Yeah. I always say that Drive is the most art house action movie ever made.
Pretty much, Because
it's just a guy breaking bones and stabbing people, but it's you're oh man, that was so highbrow.
It really is. It's just, he's hanging out in his apartment, hanging out with a girl, hanging out with a kid, driving. You get these awesome driving sequences, and then he just opens up a dude's head like an envelope in an elevator, and you're sort of
oh,
so that happened.
Scenes are much more effective for it. So I don't know how we got here from Zombie U. I just wanted to say don't pass it up because of the goofy ass name.
We were talking about, the effectiveness of horror and violence and how many people you killed in Zombie U and
yeah. I did not engage. If you engage in combat in Zombie U, you're probably doing it wrong. There's actually a mode, I think it's survival mode or survivor mode, where it's like if you die once, the game just straight ends. It just kicks you back to the menu. It's like a 7-hour game. So, fuck you.
What else was on your docket this week, Austin?
Oh man, I wasn't expecting to play any more than that because I played a lot of Zombie U. I was really into that. But the site went down over the weekend. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah,
I did actually.
So I got some more time in. I played the first 2 entries in the Sly Cooper series. I have the HD collection, so I played Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus and Sly Cooper 2 Band of Thieves, I think it's called.
Yeah, good man.
Are you guys, Robert, you played them?
Oh, yeah, I've played all 4.
Oh, sweet. Because I have like no frame of reference. I grew up as like an Insomniac kid. Sony has a good stable of second-party developers. There's Insomniac, Sucker Punch, and Naughty Dog. But I feel like it's kind of undergone a thing. Like, Naughty Dog was always the least interesting to me. Like, I didn't give a shit about Spyro or Crash growing up. But now they're the Last of Us people, the Uncharted people. They're like top dog. Where Insomniac was like what I grew up with. I love Ratchet and Clank. But now they're doing like, was that Full Frontal Assault the last one? I couldn't give two shits.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Full Frontal Assault was the last one.
I couldn't give 2 shits about Insomniac, really, and they're doing Sunset Overdrive for Microsoft now, which is a thing, I guess. It looks kind of interesting. We haven't seen any gameplay of it. But Sucker Punch, to me, was kind of overlooked. I played Infamous. It was okay, but I never played any of the Sly games, so this was educational for me, going back. Wow, the first Sly Cooper is old school. You have 1 hit point, and there are lives. Like, if you run out of lives, you get a game over. I haven't seen that in a while. Do you guys remember when there were lives?
Yep. I
remember when they meant something. Do you know how many lives I finished New Super Mario Bros. 2 off with?
I had over 100, I think. When
I had 312.
Oh my god. Yeah, why do they even bother with lives anymore?
Well, I think it was just partially due to the nature of that game, because you get so many coins, it's not hard.
Yeah, I'm just saying, from a game design perspective, I've said, like Super Meat Boy was like the new bar for a while, and then Rayman Origins came out. Those games, what makes them such good platformers is they don't punish you, they teach you. It's like you die and you're just back. There's like a split-second delay. You're just back, get back in there, figure it out, learn it, get better. There's not this like punitive element. And then when you have lives, it just makes it stressful, and you're just like, oh, I keep fucking up and I'm gonna fail, and then I have to start from the beginning, and I just want to quit. You know what I'm saying?
I get you, although I will say I never felt like that in New Super Mario Bros. 2.
Well, no, that's a really I'm just saying the nature of the lives mechanic seems to be counterintuitive.
I'm not sure it's completely gone, because I think there's space for games that allow you to not necessarily have lives, but basically maintain your life by managing resources properly. The easiest example I can possibly think of would be like the first-person shooter that doesn't have regenerating health, but has like usable med packs. Where it's like, you can go through a particular segment and be like, okay, I'm going to take it easy here, I'm going to be all right. But then you have to take like a huge risk at one point in time and then like manage your resources. And that's fine. That's not like lives where it's like, oh, you're dead. Oh, by the way, you're dead again. But I think that there's still room for that kind of game out there.
I mean, I think what the regenerating health thing, I feel like that's a separate issue. That adds tension to combat. You're like, okay, I can only risk getting hit like once moving into cover, so I don't know if I want to do that right now. Like, that's a gameplay mechanic that I feel like enhances what's going on. Where lives, when you're jumping from platform to platform, it doesn't matter how many lives you have. Either you're going to be good enough or knowledgeable enough to do it or not. But when you fail, then you're punished. I feel like that's kind of what I'm getting at. I feel like we've kind of moved beyond that. We're not trying to get quarters from kids anymore.
No, you're absolutely right about that. The video game dichotomy has moved beyond this concept of, well, home video games need to emulate the arcade experience, and even though the equipment's way cheaper and it can't quite be, we still need to adhere to this design. Oh, look at that. This relates back to us talking about Nintendo and style. how game structure is king over everything.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it a lot more, like, it depends on the genre, too, but back, like, a few generations ago, like, I don't know, N64, there were tons of, almost all the games that, well, not almost all, but a bunch of games I could remember had a lot of lives on them. But it's just kind of gotten phased out as time goes on, you know?
Well, I think part of it is the industry's desire to target a larger audience. You know, like it's like there are so many video game developers out there that want to do that want movies. You know, they want TV shows, they want pop culture appeal, and I don't think that they know that that means lowest common denominator a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that they're like, yeah, we want everybody to enjoy our thing. And that desire can be both like a good thing, it can be a good desire, and it can be a really shady one. Because it could be either, I want as many people as possible to enjoy this game, or it can be, I want as many people as possible to pay me money. And
Yeah.
you can't discern between the two readily necessarily, but I do feel that the destruction of punitive measures in video games largely is for the best, but I cannot distinguish it from people who want to make games easier because they want hobbyists to enjoy playing the games more, therefore or thereby reaping more profit. Like I cannot discern between the two.
I get what you mean by that, but I almost think it's a bit more toward the reason that as time has gone on, I'd almost say games have gotten less and less level-based. Like, even if you have a stages or different levels that you can clearly cut lines between and say, this is a level, and now this is a level, it's gotten more about an overall experience as time has gone on. Like, if you think about something like, I don't know, Super Mario Brothers or Banjo-Kazooie or something like that, there were clearly defined levels you went into, and if you failed in the level, you lost a life, you went back, you tried over again. But as time has gone on, it's gotten less level-based, and because of that, you can't just send them back to this easily defined point as the start of the level. It can't be defined so simply. So it seems like lives have phased out in that way, not completely gone, but phased out because a lot of games are designed with that overall journey in mind. And they don't want to take you out of the journey so much. So they had to come up with other ways to have a game over or a failure. That's probably also the reason why checkpoints have become so common as of late. Not only is it convenient, but it doesn't take you out of the game too much if you lose your life or die and you go back to a checkpoint that's not too far back from you.
So do you think that the elimination of the life mechanic from games was a necessity for the success of games as a narrative experience? Because the elimination of stages and levels and things like that, like I get that as a storyteller, because you want to have a cohesive experience from start to finish. You want to tell a story properly. And as games became more and more capable of telling stories properly, do you think that that served a role in getting rid of the life mechanic?
Yeah, I would say that. Because, like Austin was going on about, lives, in a way, even if it's not meant to be, are a bit of a punishment. Because you are setting a limit on just how many times you can come back or try again. Eventually, in most cases with games of lives, you may lose all your lives, and then you have to go back to the title screen and come back in the game and probably pick up a fair amount back from where you were. Back in the days when games were were very simple and didn't have the capabilities we have today, they had to work with the limitations they had. So, on the whole, they went with a simple level-based structure because it's simple to work around. And especially even for a lot of handheld games today, you work with a level structure because you got short times. Like, the new Luigi's Mansion, for example. The original was something that went for an overall experience. It was cut up into 4, like, sections, per se, but you would never say there were different levels. It was all the mansion. But in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, you have 5 different mansions, and each mansion is set up into different missions. So there is a place for levels in the current generation of games, I'd say, in situations like that, when time may be an issue and you just want to get in a quick little gaming fix. Yeah. But for the overall narrative-driven games like Last of Us, like, I don't know, same developer, but Uncharted and other things like that, the overall experience is what's really key to those games, and it's what the developers are going for, at least from what I can see. So even if you would split up the levels, like Uncharted does have different levels that they number with their own little titles, but even then, for example, they don't break to get to the next level, like load the screen and say, now entering, I don't know, this old monastery. They just put the title over the action as you step into the world and let you continue on your way.
What do you think, Austin? Do you think that the success of games as narrative contributed to the elimination of this concept of punitive lives?
Well, I think different games have different aims. Obviously, if you're trying to do a narrative, having lives, I mean, that is kind of ludonarrative dissonance there, right? It's like, oh, you died 3 times, therefore this adventure comes to an end. It's like, well, if you died once, shouldn't I be done? So, yes, I mean, story kind of necessitates dropping those things, usually. I guess you can work around and pretend that the lives mechanic is separate, but whatever. I think it's just some companies just keep things for tradition's sake. It's like that's how we did it in the arcade days. It's how we do it now. I think that's Nintendo's take on it. And that isn't so obtrusive because, like Robert said, you end up with in most Mario games with 300 lives, so it doesn't really matter.
I mean,
but
there are still room for those kinds of games. Like, I mean, people talk about Spelunky and people talk about La Mulana.
Yeah, if a game is designed in such a way to incorporate the concept of lives in a way that feels natural, I guess I don't have a problem with that. It's just when it feels like you have it because, oh, you're supposed to have lives. It's a video game.
Yeah, it really is just the run from the times when you you almost had to have lives like that. But as Johnny said, as games technology developed and we got more options, we could do more different types of games. And a lot of the kinds of games we could make with the newer technology, lives just does not fit what they're trying to do. But lives still do have their place. There's a place for it, but there's also other kinds of games now that can't go with lives to make it all work.
I was just going to say, and it's one of the things I love about this industry.
Well, here's the thing, okay? I mean, getting back to the topic, I played Sly Cooper 1 and 2. And when you played 2, they removed the lives. They're completely gone, and I think the game is much better for it. It gets rid of... I mean, the first game is kind of a platformer with stealth elements, but Sly 2 is like a stealth game. Like, you jump, but it's not so much a platformer. Sly 2 is better in pretty much every aspect, maybe save the boss fights. I think Sly 1 has some cool boss fights. 2 is mostly, there's like, you just hit the person with your cane, or it's a puzzle, so that's not quite as interesting to me. But Sly 2 is, I don't know how much detail I need to go in for a 10-year-old game to our listeners, but it gets rid of a lot of the gaminess. It just kind of drops you into these levels, and it's almost like Grand Theft Auto. There's like 3 icons on your map, and it's like, these are the missions that will move this heist forward. Or just run around and collect coins. Do whatever you want. Fuck off. Have fun.
So, would you call Sly 2 Greasy Sweet?
Excuse me? Oh, the guy, yeah, the lizard, that's how he talks.
He's the best. I love that dude.
For a second there, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
His theme's amazing.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the last of him either.
You guys, I need to thank you, because tonight, when my girlfriend comes home, I am going to call her Greasy Sweet.
Well, that'll be interesting.
For me, at least.
I mean...
Should I pull up the scene so you can get context?
Oh, no.
Because it really doesn't help in context either. The guy's random.
There's just a lizard who says weird shit.
I think I'll be okay.
Robert, talk to me now, because this is a rare opportunity where 2 of us have played a game that we're talking about. Usually we just talk at each other. What do you think about the progression from Sly 1 to Sly 2?
I pretty much completely agree. Like Sly 1 was a game I'd say it wasn't a bad game, but it almost felt a little cookie cutter sometimes in how it handled things, because it did feel like it stepped a bit too much into the standards for its genre. And
yeah, it's a collect-a-thon platformer. No, it's pretty standard, but then it has like cool stealth moments. It's like, man, I wish they would have built the game around this. So then they did.
Yeah, I mean, I like collectathons as probably more than the next guy. I'm a bit of a fan. I mean, I collected everything in Donkey Kong 64 when I probably shouldn't.
Dude, I don't get people who bag on Donkey Kong 64. Donkey Kong 64 is fucking baller as shit.
Oh, dude, no, don't get me wrong. I liked the game, but there was so much to collect, and every time I look back on the fact I got it all, I can't help but think, wow.
That could have been time I could have used to get laid.
Maybe. But anyway, to go on from there, even if I like Sly Cooper, due to some aspects and the characters were enjoyable to me, even if they were a bit simple, it was a bit cookie cutter for the genre. Sly 2 basically took what made Sly 1 special, expanded on it, and made it more interesting. Like I was saying earlier, it made the narrative a bit more of a focus, if you ask me, and made it feel less like each individual level. Like, now there were hubs that went your missions off, and your missions took place in the hub. So it felt like a few different collective worlds that you interacted with consistently. And I really did like a bunch of the different kinds of missions and heists, and the fact you got to play as the additional characters, too. That was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, the characters aren't really characters in the first one.
No.
In the second one, it's like, oh, these people are actually friends.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, I think everything you're saying is basically right. I mean, the first one is like there's 5 worlds themed around certain things. There's like the swamp world and the mountain world and the pirate world. And in the second one, it's like here's Paris. Some things are going down. We got to plan a heist. Here are all these missions that relate to planning this heist. Doesn't this feel like a game about thieves? Like,
I agree with both of you.
I'm glad.
Johnny's like, can we talk about something I like? Johnny,
Johnny
talk about
not like Sly Cooper?
No. I've never played Sly Cooper.
No.
I like what I've seen. I like what I've seen. No,
Well,
continue. Please continue. I just felt like awkwardly interjecting.
I mean, Johnny kind of hits it. That's how I've kind of always felt about Sucker Punch's work. It's like, Infamous is okay. You know, it's good, I guess. It's not, like, mind-blowing. But, like, Sly always looked good, but I just never felt like something I needed to play. And now that I've played, I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's like Infamous. It's pretty good. And it's like a solid second place behind Naughty Dog. Well, I don't know what is Insomniac even doing anymore? I feel like I'm kind of depressed
They've
myself.
done Ratchet and Clank for a bit. They did Fuse, I think. That was them, right?
Sadly, yeah.
They did Resistance, and Resistance was good.
1 and 3 were good. 2 was probably should have been a movie.
And now they're doing Sunset Overdrive, which even if we haven't seen gameplay, looks pretty good.
It reminds me of that fucking oh god. It reminds
you
me
gonna
of
say Brink?
No, it reminds me of Epic. Epic Games. They've got a game in the
Fortnite?
Yeah, Fortnite. It reminds me of Fortnite.
Can we talk about Cliff Bleszinski for a second? Someone actually asked me on Twitter to talk about Cliff Bleszinski.
Because he's a fucking nutbag?
Here's the thing. Every word that's ever come out of his mouth on Twitter, I have just fundamentally disagreed with. If I only knew him through Twitter, I would probably hate the guy, but he posted like a 2,000, maybe 3,000 word like essay on about like his thoughts about some stuff, and it's like, I agree with everything you're saying. I think it might just be the 140 character limit that makes him seem like an egotistical jerk off. Like, once you actually give him some space to explain himself a little bit more, he seems like a much more rational human being.
He speaks a little authoritatively in his Twitter limit.
Yeah.
I am the law!
I am the law.
There's a sense that he's like, I'm the rich, famous game designer, and you are not, so shut up. But
yeah.
In that thing he wrote recently, I think it was like on used games in the Xbox One, he was basically like, here are the limitations of game development, and here's our, how publishers and consumers are at odds, and these are the concerns we have. And it's like, yeah, pretty much everything you just said. do that more often.
I have spoken at great length about how conflicted I feel about the used games marketplace, where you buy a game, you play it, you finish it in less than a week, you bring it back, you sell it for a fraction, and then they throw it back on the shelf for $2 less. So that when some guy who is willing to pay $60 for a game is like, oh, you mean I can pay $58 instead? Goes for that, and then none of the people who worked on that game, none of the people who measure or not whether or not that game is popular, get any of that money or any of that information, and then they go, oh, well, nobody liked it. I have real problems with the used game market. I really do.
I mean, there's so much to say about that topic. We could do an entire website on just that issue.
All right, okay. Resident Evil, Metal Gear, and used games.
Well, one more thing. I actually asked on Twitter who wanted us to talk about this, and I think the best responses I got was keep it to 3 minutes. Do you guys want to hit the Xbox 180? It happened like the day after we recorded last week, so we missed it.
They did.
So, do you want to just real quick? What do you think this changes anything? Will they reverse the decision? Does this change how you feel? Blah blah blah. Real quick, speed round.
I didn't really pay attention. Sorry.
Oh my God, Robert.
Hey, this is like the first time. I swear, that doesn't normally happen. It's the first time.
This happens to every guy.
Or do you just mean how they... Damn it. You just mean how they said how they're going to basically reverse all their policies?
Yes, Robert. Well,
sorry, I'm an idiot.
What we in the industry now know as the great Xbox 180, even though we ran that joke into the ground in like 8 seconds.
Oh, I almost thought they actually announced a new console or something.
And you're like, shit, I missed it. Why did no one tell me?
Yeah, but if that's what they're calling it, then yeah, I could talk about that.
Okay. For a second there, I thought you were the worst.
I'm sorry. I am still the worst, but...
Okay, good.
Yeah. But anyway, well, it showed... I'm not sure if it's... I almost think they planned the entire thing in some twisted way. Almost.
Really? I think maybe they planned to see if Sony was going to do it and then pull the plug when it was clear they were going to be the only villain. I don't think they planned on getting embarrassed.
No, I think they just handled the entire thing terribly. Anyway, but I want to say it's good that they were listening, but I'm not sure that's what did it. I really do think it's like you said with, did Sony do it? No, they didn't? Okay, we're not doing it either. What are you talking about? I mean, it's good that it's not doing those things anymore.
Really? Have you heard the backlash? Apparently we ruined the Xbox One. It was going to be so cutting edge in the cloud, and now we're just going to be stuck with this stupid offline box because of all the poor people.
Well, those people, I would not say kind things to them.
Have you guys heard this? This is like things people are actually saying right now.
Yeah, I have heard this.
Yeah.
But the cloud.
Austin?
Yes?
I'm taking my ball and going home. You guys can play your stupid games, but you can't use this.
What about the family sharing plan that we didn't actually know how it functions?
Well,
Now we're gonna have to actually just, give our friends and family the game.
I'm a little bit reticent to bring this up, but Jim Sterling's Jimquisition did an episode a couple of days ago about why the PC was exempt from all this online hoodoo majig marketplace problems where people are like, always online DRM, digital content, etc. And it's kind of fucking ridiculous because what Microsoft was aiming to do was basically make a monopolized Steam.
Yeah, they want to be Steam with none of the benefits.
Not even Steam with none of the benefits, but with none of the alternatives.
Yeah, it's as if there was no Origin and no good old games. I can't even remember half the things. Is Direct to Drive around anymore?
They are, but it's Direct to Drive was GameFly. It's GameFly now. Yeah, you can buy games on the internet from GameFly.
What about Uplay?
Well,
guys, Uplay.
They're gonna try, but this is the point: is that you can still go to Uplay. It's crap. but you can still buy games off it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steam, Good Old Games, Uplay, GameFly, fucking Impulse is now owned by GameStop.
Impulse. That's the one I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
Shit.
GameStop owns Impulse.
We're going over the 3-minute limit here. Do you guys think that they're gonna reverse? They're gonna reverse this, like 2 years after the Xbox One's on shelves, they'll send out a patch, and now you have to be online every 24 hours again.
So what you're saying is that they're going to make an Xbox 360.
I hate all of us.
No, Austin, it's a danger. It really is legitimately a danger that they might do that.
I mean, it's a danger that Sony could do that as well. So I don't know if that's a fair thing to fully put on their shoulders.
No,
because
I'm not going after anybody specifically for that. You know, like it's possible. It's possible that at any point in time when you sign up for any of these services, as an avid Steam user, it's conceivable that at any point in time Steam might be like, oh yeah, by the way, you need to always be connected to the internet now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's always something you gotta. It's always a possibility. We just kind of have to hope that doesn't happen. The reason some people might be thinking that about the Xbox is because that's what it was going to be.
Yeah, it comes down to trust, really.
And I think that says a lot about how people feel about Xbox and Microsoft right now.
They didn't exactly walk out of the gate just trustworthy, so to speak.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's basically that. It's people have had a week to marinate in that news, so I don't want to linger on it too much. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we do that? I just
want to say that on the ground level, honestly, I don't think there's any reason now why you should buy a PS4 over an Xbox One, except for the exclusives.
I mean, some people are lamenting that. They're like, oh, now they're the same. And it's like, well, now the focus is on games, which is where it should have been to begin with.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
If you want cutting-edge technology, you probably should stop holding your breath for consoles to that charge.
If you want cutting-edge technology, save up some money and buy a fucking PC.
Yeah. Consoles is about getting games you can't get anywhere else, pretty much, so...
It's never been about cutting-edge technology.
Yeah.
Nope.
Never.
We'll see how it shakes out. I mean, Dead Rising 3 and Sunset Overdrive, D4, Quantum Break. They have potential. PlayStation has Knack, Infamous, Killzone, all of their second-party IPs.
Drivatar.
Drivatar.
Yeah. Oh, actually, there was one other thing we could talk about that I just remembered. Don't you remember how the Game of the Year is coming out? Has come out?
Fuck you, Robert.
What are you talking about?
Did you see that news story, Johnny?
No, I didn't.
Gabe wrote a news post called Game of the Year Arrives Tomorrow about the new farming simulator.
Agricultural Simulator 2013?
Well, actually, it's 3D for the 3DS. Yes.
I mean, as if the 3DS library couldn't get jam-packed with any more must-owns.
No. I'm sorry. Farming simulators? No.
Think about all the potential of that second screen. You could look at your corn and your wheat at the same time.
You could also, I suppose, you could check out your ledgers.
Yeah, real-time pig physics. I don't even
tractor
know what that means.
physics.
No, there's no tractor physics. We checked that out.
I know. I saw.
No tractor physics. Oh, jeez. So, do you want to explain a movie to people in a family-friendly way before we talk about Spec Ops?
Well, I think the best way to describe Jaws is about a friendly fish who just likes to kiss people too aggressively.
I think that's a dishonest recap. That's not family friendly. Now you're just lying. You can be like, it's about a fish that has disagreements with the lower halves of people's bodies in its environment.
Well,
Okay.
that's also a bit misleading because it's not just the lower halves. That's the initial.
Well, it could lead to full body disagreements eventually.
One way or another, gentlemen, I think we're going to need a bigger boat. Austin.
Jonathan.
Eat a dick.
Robert.
Did you just say your own name, Robert? He's like, I feel left out.
Oh, sorry. Leon.
Did you see that? Did you see that Leon was playing a game?
On Twitter, I think he said something about playing Zelda.
Skyward Sword.
If you want to reinvigorate your love of gaming, why don't you play the series that is in many ways indistinguishable from all the other entries in the series?
I am just happy that he's doing what he
sentiment.
loves. All right.
Austin? No, I'm glad he's playing video games. I'm just saying I thought he would go for something a little bit outside of his comfort zone, maybe. Yes, Robert, I know Zelda games are different. Yes, he's all about Zelda.
My memory.
Yeah. You know, Austin, that's why he left. Because he couldn't stand your scorn anymore.
Am I being a little rude? I can never tell if I take it too far.
You drove him away.
You know what? If he can't handle it, then I don't want him here anyway.
This language is getting way too violent for this family-friendly podcast. I think I might have to leave forever, too.
Fuck you, Robert.
Ladies and gentlemen, Spec Ops spoilers!
I think that was sufficient. I don't think anyone's going to be confused. There's no ambiguity there.
No, I think it was pretty clear.
Okay. So Spec Ops The Line starts off as a really boilerplate third-person shooter. Like, wow, I've seen this a million times. I am an American soldier going into the Middle East to bring freedom for justice.
Yeah.
And then shit starts getting real. It slowly kind of reveals itself as a deconstruction of that whole idea.
Like, the very first thing that they pretty much drop on you is that you're shooting at Americans.
Yeah, that's one of the... there's a couple of different moments that send it home. One of them is like, wow, I'm trying to remember how it goes. He said, we're fighting Americans, and it's like, well, we have to, or they'll kill us. And that line about, we have to do this, we need to do this. It's about player agency, and I don't want to.
No, you're so used to pushing forward in the shooter. You are so used to moving forward that it's like, we have to kill these guys. It's like, but they're Americans. It's like, yeah, we have to kill them or they're going to kill us. Leaving isn't even an option. The only path through the video game is forwards.
Well, forwards and violence. So actually, one of the first things when you start the game, as you're walking into Dubai, the first thing you see is just a stop sign sticking out of the sand. And you have to walk by it.
And the guy responsible for writing the game says that he honestly considers quitting the game and never playing again unending.
Yeah, no, that's the point of the game, is that if you were a good person, you wouldn't be here. You would turn off. The loading screen spells that out. The correct and moral choice in Spec Ops The Line is to turn it off, because you are complicit in the war crimes that the characters commit by virtue of listening to the disembodied voice of the game. There's a part, I think my favorite part, is you're standing at the top of a building, and a voice in the radio tells you to do some stuff, and your mission prompt, it says like, go to this marker, go to this, do this. It just says obey. Just that's your mission objective, obey. And I was like, shit, that is cold.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the little things like that make all the difference. I bet it wouldn't be nearly as memorable if they just said, go to the mission marker. No, now it's obey.
It's all, the little things build up. It's the loading screens are my favorite. It's like, do you even remember why you're here?
Yeah. The loading screens really dug at me.
It's great because they start off normal. It's like, remember to stay in cover, push left button to crouch, and then it starts going like, how many Americans have you killed? And it's one of them, and one of them's like, we do not advocate murder, but this is a video game, so why should you care? And it's like it becomes self-aware and starts rebelling against the player. And I compared it to kind of BioShock, the would you kindly thing, but that story is about overcoming, being programmed. It's like you do what people tell you, but now you're going to take the power back and fight the man. And Spec Ops is just like, no, you are a coward and you probably deserve to die. The end.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can assume then that you found it a particularly powerful experience, Austin.
I mean, it's certainly not perfect. I think anytime you kind of pull a move on the player like that, you're going to open yourself to criticism. It's like, why should I play your game if you're just going to insult me? Or like, if there was no other gameplay options, am I really at fault here? stuff like that. But as far as just an experience goes, that it'll probably stick with me forever. It's a memorable and important work. While, I think maybe the fact that it isn't fun is intentional. Like, it's not fun. It's not very well made, like, on a shooter level. But if it was, would that undermine the message? Like, killing isn't supposed to be fun.
That's the thing. That puzzles me about it. I've never been sure.
Because I think that's like part of the thing with Far Cry 3 is it's like, suburban white kid goes into the jungle and becomes a badass, and it's like, yeah, but you made killing really fun.
Yeah.
With Spec Ops, it's like, I really wish that this was not a thing I had to put myself through. It's like it wouldn't work as a movie because it wouldn't condemn you for doing the actions. You'd just be observing, and that's not. There's what's that? It's called Funny Games. It's a horror movie where it's like, you sicko, you want to watch us murder this person. Like that is a social commentary that a work can make, but participating is an entirely different thing. We already said spoilers. You murdered those civilians.
Yeah, and oh my God, what a scene!
That's actually I heard in an interview that they were planning on advertising the game with that scene, and then they realized that they would blow their load in the trailer if you show that. That is the centerpiece. And
the dialogue for it is very specific. There's got to be some other way. Like, we have to have another choice. And he's like, no, there is no other choice.
And there isn't. But I feel like there's some criticism there. It's like that scene, you have to murder those civilians.
Oh, yeah.
Is that fair to the player? Like, what if they had made an option where you could have avoided that, and then the player had taken that option? For example, later in the game, there's a scene where, like, a mob is attacking you, and you can open fire on the mob. I didn't. I shot a warning shot, and they ran away. Like, there, I had a choice.
Me too. I did the same thing.
I made the moral choice. If given a choice during that scenario, could I have taken it? That would have ruined the game. The game would fall apart without that. But it's hard to say if that's a cheap tactic because,
I don't think it is. I don't think it is just because they are obviously directly addressing the way that video games tell their stories.
Yeah, it's part of the message. It's like if you were playing Call of Duty and they told you to do something, you would do it. Yes, it's perfectly in line with what they're trying to say. I love it. I'm just saying that forcing you to do something and then saying, look what you did, can feel manipulative and cheap.
It can, but like Johnny was saying, I wouldn't say that's how it is here, because like we were talking about with the violence and sex earlier, it all depends on how you present it and how you handle it, and if you give it the weight it deserves. And in this case,
they focus on the burned, charred remains of those people for like way too long. But they don't.
The violence in the rest of the game is nowhere near as dramatic.
No, most of the time it's like you point and you click and there's a little puff of blood and the person falls over.
And this is one of the things about this particular segment is that they in the midst of violence, like fucking horrid violence, they managed to find something, so much worse.
Yeah, a single killing, like a murder, is like life-defining and life-altering, but in video games we're just kind of programmed to mow down hundreds of people, not give it a second glance. So it's kind of funny they have to ratchet it up to even get you to notice.
Well, it's almost like that old quote, the death of one is a tragedy, the death of a million is a statistic. It doesn't mean much when you're just shooting through a bunch of guys, but if you focus, if you make me even feel a tiny bit for this guy when he dies, I'm going to remember that. That's going to mean something to me. And I think that's pretty much the case of what happened here.
It might be manipulative, Austin, but it also might have been necessary.
Well, like I said, if you give the player a choice and they take it, the game falls apart. What happens if the white phosphorus scene doesn't exist? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You kind of need it. So I understand that from just a structural point of view. I just worry about it undermining the message that the player is attempting to be a hero vicariously and instead becoming a monster Because that's what it is. It's like you play war games to feel like a hero. You want to be America. You want to save the day.
Well,
and it's like
you do know that you can actually open fire on the guys below?
Yeah, don't they just respawn infinitely?
They keep coming at you.
Yeah. But that's...
Statistically, that's what would happen. Even if you stay alive, you run out of ammo.
Well, yeah, it's also a possible ending of the game is that there's like American soldiers show up to take you into custody, and you can fight them, but they'll gun you down.
We'll talk about the endings later.
Okay, I don't know how much we're going to do this. You want to go into some depth here?
I just want to talk with you about this, and you can edit it how you want.
Okay, I'll probably leave it whole because if they don't care, they'll turn it off.
But
yeah, I mean, I'm sure you thought of it. What do you think about the interpretation that the whole thing is not actually happening? Because the game opens with you in a helicopter and you crash. So is he dead the whole time? Because the game is, it's revealed near the end that the whole thing is pretty hallucinatory to begin with. How much are we even supposed to take as literal?
It's tough to say.
Does it matter? I sometimes run into the idea that they leave it open for interpretation, but it doesn't really matter as long as it holds together with some kind of logic.
Well, that's the thing, I guess. Whether or not you decide to take it one way or another, that's your business. And that's one of the things about Spec Ops that I like so much, actually, is that you can choose to take it in any way that you like. I actually prefer to take it as an actual experience.
My problem with that is I can reconcile most of it, except for the part where he breaks the fourth wall. When you're going through the game, you get to the helicopter part again, and he says, "Didn't we already do this?" And I think, if this is all real, what context makes that make sense?
Well, I'm not suggesting that there's not a disconnect in there.
Mm-hmm. I'm not asking you to defend the position. I'm just curious if you could think how to reconcile that.
No, just in the sense that, like, the helicopter crash doesn't necessarily mean death.
No, it's possible to survive a helicopter crash. I mean, shit, people do it 12 times per game in Resident Evil.
But there's the whole feeling to me that there's I feel like the way that the game operates in terms of the dysfunction of the player wanting to be the hero,
mm-hmm.
and, Walker in the game.
Yeah, you are Walker.
Well, that's the thing, is that, the player wants to be the hero, and Walker wants to be the hero. But you gradually come to the conclusion that you're not the hero as the player.
Yeah.
But Walker fights for his life. And Walker becomes something that the player isn't necessarily, by his characterization.
I think the ending kind of gives you a choice on that. It's like, do you take responsibility?
We're gonna talk about the ending. 'Cause
okay.
I'm gonna you're gonna tell me what you did, but not now.
Okay. Well, here's the thing about Walker, right? Because he is, your traditional handsome male, white, presumably straight hero character.
Yeah.
And you start off with him, and you're like, yes, we're going to go on the adventure to save the dirty Middle Eastern people. And then he kind of, not just like emotionally, but physically transforms. He becomes dirty and bloodied and battered as the game goes on.
I made a point of that in my review.
The game, frankly, looks like shit, but that part of it at least is beautiful.
And one of the things I really like about it as well is the alteration.
The dialogue?
The alteration of the in-combat dialogue.
I was going to go there, too. Also, the finishing moves. They start off with, he just kind of, with, a punch, or, he chokes you out or something. At the end, he's forcing guns between people's teeth and just screaming. And just, it's the beginning, they're quipping, right? He's like, they're just, we got people over there, cover me, and at the end he's like, fuck you!
Yeah.
I'll kill you, I'll shit in your brain!
It gets nuts. And it's like, that's a subtlety.
Oh, it's super appreciated, too. I've never seen anything like it, because you can tell me that a character is undergoing a certain thing, but that's showing, and that's an emotional subtlety that we don't see very often in video games.
But so the whole concept of there being like this half and half, there's no evidence that he's not deranged to begin with.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's made explicit that he underwent some kind of trauma in a previous mission, and perhaps that's where it started.
Yeah.
Where Conrad saved him before, so it's perfectly reasonable that he broke there and only was hiding it.
We might only be sharing in his experience, but as him, if that makes any sense. Because his companions, obviously, during the course of the campaign, are kind of like, are you sure?
I love those companions. They're cool. Like they start off really funny, and they start clashing, and then it builds up, and it's like, Jesus Christ. It actually really reminded me of Shin Megami Tensei, the mainline series. They all have that dynamic. You are the bland main hero guy, and you have two companions, and they start off as friends, but then they eventually come to blows, and you kind of have in Shin Megami Tensei you have to pick a side or none. And if like Walker is like if he doesn't take a third option, he takes the 12th option into deep space. Like he is the I don't even know, man. He's the chaotic neutral.
All right.
Yeah.
Robert, have you played this game?
Not entirely. I only got to play a bit. Although, don't worry about the spoilers for me, because I heard pretty much everything.
Are you ready for ending talk?
Hit me with your rhythm stick.
All right.
That's a song. Never mind.
What'd you do?
Well, and there's the final showdown. You go to the top of the building where you think Conrad is, and it's pretty clearly hallucinatory. There are all these soldiers saluting you when they probably should be shooting at you. It's otherworldly and eerie. And you get to the top. Conrad's there. You have a discussion about what is and what is not necessary, what it means to be a hero. And then you pull a gun on him. And the way the dialogue played out, he says, it's about taking responsibility for everything he's done. And he says, if you believe that everything you did is necessary, then go ahead and shoot me. Conrad says that to Walker. And the way I took that was that Conrad is a manifestation of his guilt, and that to shoot him would be to say that what I did was necessary, to deny my own culpability. So I did not shoot him, and the resulting cutscene was that Walker shoots himself, and the Dubai is fucked. Everyone is dead. I've obviously played it again, saw all the different permutations of the ending. But I mean, that was my gut reaction. I guess my personal canon, if you will.
All right.
Because I mean, if you want a little bit more detail there, I do not think it was necessary. They could have left it any time. They should have left immediately. Walker is at fault. He wanted to be a hero, and he killed everyone. He's basically a monster. So that's why I felt like he shouldn't have shot Conrad based on the dialogue.
All right.
Johnny?
Yeah?
What'd you do?
Oh, I shot myself right fucking through the temple.
So you didn't shoot Conrad?
No, I did not.
Okay, so we were on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you echoing my sentiments here? You're kind of playing a little close to the chest with your cards. I don't know what you're waiting to spring on me here.
No, nothing particularly. I mean, it's a situation in gaming that doesn't come up pretty much at all. The only other game I can think of that comes close to it was Singularity.
Where you have to choose how to screw over the world?
Well, but in that sense, there was also like, no, fuck both of you.
Yeah.
So, it came to this point in time where it was just sort of like, I haven't saved anything. I haven't done anybody any good.
Mm-hmm.
There was no benefit. I mean, even if you accept Walker's trials as being factual and things that exist,
mm-hmm.
none of his efforts come to good.
I mean, there's a line of dialogue. Conrad says to him, you can still go home, I think is how he phrases it. And to me, that it kind of offers the chance of redemption for everything he's done.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just realistically, he's going to get court-martialed and probably put in Guantanamo for the rest of his life.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, what happens in Dubai stays in Dubai.
Well, that's why I said Guantanamo, because if they brought it to actual like military court, the atrocities would come out. And the premise of much of what goes on there is that the CIA is trying to cover it up to avoid international incident. So I would imagine they would just stuff Walker in the darkest hole they could find and wait for him to die.
Well, who knows? I mean, there are.
It's not a sure thing.
There are several different endings to the game.
There's two main branches: the kill yourself or don't kill yourself.
No. Even after you don't kill yourself, there are a couple of branches to that.
Well, I'd say that the don't kill yourself has its own thing, but most of those are, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there's either you stay in Dubai awaiting evacuation, you kill the people sent to take you in, or you go with them.
No,
Am I missing?
There's another one as well, I think.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what it is. So yeah, they come to get you, and you can go with them, or you can kill them. No, you might be right. And
there's another one where you like stay behind and you broadcast saying, casualties, one too few or something. It changes the message at the beginning, saying at the beginning there was too many, and now there's like he's just saying that basically he should have died.
Yeah.
So those are the three permutations of the don't kill yourself ending that I'm aware of. I might have missed one, and then there's the kill yourself, which ends pretty definitively.
I couldn't move. Like, I've never played a game in my life until Spec Ops: The Line.
That's pretty deep.
That had me unable to move from my chair after that first ending. Like, bullet right through the brain. I was sitting there, and it was like, Dubai was in flames. And I was like, oh my god, look what I did. And the credits were rolling, and I was just like, oh god.
It's funny, I don't want to spoil anything else, but I've talked about a couple games in the last couple weeks where it turns out you were the villain the whole time. And it would be spoilers to say which ones, but I feel like Spec Ops is up there, but I don't know if it's the most effective kind of thing I've seen where after the credits I felt like shit. It happens a lot to me.
No, I mean, it's just great at subverting. It starts and it's like, take cover, shoot, get ammo, kill bad guy, here we are, get mission, move place, find dead body, kill child, bomb house, eat heart.
Kalima?
What was I'm trying to remember the loading screens. It was you are still a good person was one of them.
Yeah.
Was it this is all your fault or something? I can't remember. There's so many of those. That's my favorite part though, is when it kind of broke the fourth wall and blamed you or called you out. Because it's so easy to just be like, man, Walker's a douche. I'm glad I'm not that guy. But the point of the game is that you are that guy.
You are that guy.
Conrad says to you as you come up the stairs, he says, you want to be something you're not, a hero. And who is he talking to? Probably not Walker.
You are right, though, as your assumption, that it is important. It won't go down in history as, like, a great game. I don't think, this is going to sound sad, I don't think that most people have the wherewithal to recognize what it was trying to do. But
I mean, I'm not going to say, like, I think if the average person who sit down with it would kind of get, like, the broad strokes of it, they'd be like, oh, man.
At the end, they'd be like, whoa, dude, you just blew my mind.
I think you'd have to be pretty entrenched in the medium to understand the full significance of it.
Yeah.
Because taken by itself, it seems like a pretty standard, like, twist. It's like, oh, you were Tyler Durden the whole time. But on a broader scale, what it means to video games is kind of, it's like the biggest middle finger to half of the things that get released by major publishers.
Pretty much. Now, big question for you. Now that you've played it, how do you feel about the first paragraph of the review that I wrote for it?
Let me go back and check that out because I don't remember the first paragraph of your of your review from a year and a half ago.
I can read it right now. I have it right here. I have the text written up.
Fine, do it.
There are a lot of lines in life. There's the line at the ladies' washroom. There's the line at the bank. The line I drew in the sand. There's the line that everybody wonders whose it is anyways. The conga. That one that Maverick play by their own rules cops are out of. Power lines. The ones on telephones. The ones that professional drivers take around corners. Subway lines, fishing lines. There are even punch lines. So when Spec Ops The Line was booting up for me, naturally I assumed it was a game about a conga-dancing power cable turned rogue cop undercover at an improv television event who desperately needs to go to the bathroom with a snappy pun delivery at the end of it all. I've since learned to stop assuming things.
Wow.
I expect nothing less from you, Johnny. You're both incredibly clever and frustratingly obtuse.
Oh, not frustratingly obtuse, just obtuse.
It's better than my door kicker intro for Medal of Honor, but...
Dude, your door kicker intro was awesome.
That might be like my favorite paragraph
This
ever.
is Warfighter Man. He fight in war. He go home to wife lady.
Compound words.
Hey, one last thing. The music.
Oh man, the Black Angels kick ass.
No, in Spec Ops, like...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Black Angels did like half of the soundtrack for Spec Ops.
It was so good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I owned every album of every song they played. I was like, is my iPod on right now?
Like Mogwai, Glasgow, Megasnake?
Yeah, I mean, all the songs in the game have kind of a Vietnam feel, and I think that was intentional. They all feel like they should be sung by Jim Morrison.
Dude, that song was released in like 2008?
Yeah, no, the Black Angels are a modern band.
Yeah,
they
I know. I know.
They played I think the song's The First Vietnam War was one song they played. I can't remember off all the songs off the top of my head, but yeah, I'm pretty sure most of the soundtrack is modern, but the feel of it is like watching Apocalypse Now, and I feel like that was intentional.
Well, yeah. They're pretty honest about...
We went this whole entire thing without mentioning that it's an adaptation of Heart of Darkness. I feel like that was an oversight.
No,
I don't know. It feels like something we should have led with.
I hate to look down on our audience, but do you think any of them have read Joseph Conrad?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, we have, like 2,000 people who listen to this every week? Some of them must have. They have to teach it somewhere.
I would hope so, yeah. Wait, maybe Leon still listens. He's an English teacher. He must have read Heart of Darkness. I know for a fact he's seen Apocalypse Now. There's a documentary you can see called Hearts of Darkness.
Yeah, I've heard about that, but I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my god, you have to see it. It's almost a better movie than Apocalypse Now, and that is saying a lot.
I feel like Indie Game the movie is better than Fez. Boom! Suck it, Philfish. I'm just being mean. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, Apocalypse Now starts with The End by The Doors, which kind of goes back to what I was saying about the music. I feel like it purposely evokes Vietnam imagery in that way.
No, you're absolutely right.
Jeez, Spec Ops. That was a conversation we just had.
It is, as you say, a game that must be experienced.
Unless you don't really like video games that much, in which case, probably not very interesting to you. Probably just make you feel like shit when you could be playing Mario.
You digging at Mario, son?
No, I'm saying Mario is much more accessible and normal. If you were just a casual video game fan, you probably wouldn't be interested in the deconstruction of the modern military first-person shooter, and you just want to have some fun. And Spec Ops is not fun.
Austin, we already established earlier this episode that we probably got rid of all the normies.
Okay.
Plus, don't you see Mario is a deconstruction of how the working man can only aspire to the top to get his ultimate goal, but will never truly obtain it? and will endlessly go on a loop of his attempt to get there that ultimately ends in failure?
I'm sorry, Robert. The point you're getting at is in another castle.
This is like the bad joke episode. I don't know if I'm allowed to use, was it Jizz Wizard? I don't know if I can use that as the title.
No.
Don't do
Jizz
that.
Magician.
I might have to run that one by Holly.
Well, then we better come up with an alternate in case that does not work out.
It could be Jizz Magician.
Oh no. I'm actually sending this message right now. How should I word this?
Hey,
Are we allowed?
question mark.
No. Just magician, question mark. Are we allowed? No.
Saga of the Jizz Magicians.
No. Here's how I'm wording this. Johnny said the phrase "jizz magician" on the podcast.
Do, not do, what
Is
do?
that a title? Is that title too? I don't know. Is it too inappropriate or?
To Johnny?
I
I don't know. Sorry, Johnny. Love you.
Is that too much for? Is that too hot for Tigletit?
Sorry, did that.
I just sent that.
I need to start describing more horrible movies in family-friendly terms, like talking about that one scene with Pulp Fiction when a man gets his intelligence spread all over the back seat. Or something like that.
By accident, because of a finger twitch on a sophisticated piece of machinery designed to manipulate physics.
Which in turn causes a small trip to be taken to a friend's house in order to clean up a slight mess that has been made.
Because cleanliness is next to godliness, everybody.
Does the sign above my house say "Dead Diglett Storage"?
How dare you? Can't say the word "dead" on a family-friendly podcast.
That was your objection.
Yes, it was.